Everyone, I'm going to call the meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for May 11th, 2021 to order. We have 5 members present tonight to represent the board. We have member Stephen Bernard, member Stephen Lianis, Fire Chief Michael Williams, Planning Board member James Sweeney, and myself, Kenneth Galligan, Chair of the Zoning Board. Also with us tonight is our Zoning Enforcement Officer, the Building Superintendent and Clerk of the Zoning Board, Mr. James Plouffe. Our recording secretary tonight is Beth Lacombe. I would ask everyone that's going to participate tonight to shut off any electronic devices, telephones, or whatever that could become a problem during the meeting. So if you could eliminate any of those electronic devices, that would be a big help. Regarding the meeting tonight, I am going to read a notice regarding this public hearing. It is being held virtually, and it is notice is hereby given that a public hearing is being held virtually tonight on May 11th, 2021, in accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A and 20, relating to the 2020 coronavirus outbreak emergency. This public meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals will be open to the public. However, the public and all applicants are encouraged to participate remotely. Alternative public access to this meeting shall be provided through Brockton Community Access TV, and public comments will be taken via Zoom or by email to the Building Superintendent, jplouffe at cobma.us. The comments will be read during the public comment portion of the agenda item. The comment must first state your full name and address, and only the first 2 minutes of the comment will be read during the hearing. Tonight, prior to the start of the hearing, we have had 3 cases that have been withdrawn. So I'm going to read the 3 cases that have been withdrawn that will not be heard tonight. So that leaves us with a total of 9 cases to be heard. The first case that was withdrawn that will not be heard tonight is the petition of Ripple Development Group, LLC, 182 Prospect Street, Southeastern Mass, for a variance to construct a 2-family home in an R1C zone located at plot 46 Ames Street. That has been withdrawn. It may be re-advertised in the future. The second one that has been withdrawn is 2142, the petition of Domingos Lokes, 50 Farrington Street, Brockton, Mass, for a variance from section 27.9 to construct a multifamily residence in an R2 zone located at 50 Farrington Street. That case has been withdrawn and it will not be heard tonight. The third case that has been withdrawn is 2147, the petition of Carm Hospitality, LLC, 421 Stillman Road, Lynnfield, Mass, for a special permit from section 2729 to construct a new 82-room hotel in a C2 zone located at plot 55 Westgate Drive. That petition has been withdrawn and it may be back to us in the future. Prior to the start of the hearing, is there anyone that's on Zoom tonight that wants to withdraw without prejudice prior to the start of the hearing? None. All right, when I call the petition, the petitioner will make the presentation to the board. When the petitioner has finished the presentation, I will open it up to questions from the board to the petitioner to straighten out any questions that a board member may have relative to the information that was just presented. When that is done, I will then open it up to anyone that wants to speak in favor of the petition. Following that, I will close that portion and open it up to anyone that wants to speak in opposition to the petition. Following that, I will ask if there are any public officials that want to be heard on the issue. When that section of the hearing is done, I will now then open it up to deliberations from the board members. This portion of the hearing is only for deliberation of the board. There are 5 members of the board, and if the vote is 5 in the affirmative and none in the negative, the petition will be granted. If the vote is 4 in the affirmative and 1 in the negative, the petition will be granted. If the vote is 3 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative, the petition will be denied. So it either has to be a 5 or a 4 vote, affirmative vote, in order for a petition to pass. I will call for a roll call vote from the clerk. The clerk will call the roll, and then I will announce at the end of that portion of the hearing whether the petition has been granted or denied. All right, the first petition before the board tonight is petition 2138. The petition of Milka and Josie Fanfan of 13 Provo Street, Brockton, Mass, for permission to make a single-family home into a 2-family home in an R2 zone located at 13 Provo Street. Is the petitioner here?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board. Jeff Thompson, Ward 5 City Councilor. I've been in contact with Ms. Fanfan. It seems like she's having trouble logging on. So right now she's just having technical difficulties. I would ask that this matter be held until the end of the meeting to allow her an opportunity to fix those technical troubles. If not, again, I've been in contact with Ms. Fanfan. I visited the property, gone through her request. If the board is looking for a presentation, I think I could probably take over and present her petition if that's appropriate.
All right, I guess the call is yours, Counselor. We can delay this till the end of the meeting, or you can proceed with the hearing. I'd rather have her do the presentation if it's possible.
I understand then. If, I'd request that this matter be postponed until the end of the meeting to allow Ms. Fanfan an opportunity to correct her technical troubles and present to the board.
Okay, what I will do then is I will delay that till the end of the hearing because of a technicality in the delivery. All right. Mr. Clerk, remind me of that.
Yes, Chair.
All right, the next petition is 2139, the petition of Soraya Green, 35 Wyoming Avenue, Brockton, Mass, for a variance from section 27.9 for a proposed deck not to exceed or extend past the current house boundary, but is less than 15 feet from the side of the home in an R1C zone located at 35 Wyoming Avenue. Is the petitioner ready?
We are. Hello, board. My name is Richard Green. I'm here with my wife, Soraya Green. We are petitioning to build a roughly 60 square foot deck off the side of our home. And we were denied the original permit due to an ordinance telling us that we can't build a structure within 15 feet of a property line. We're seeking relief from that ordinance based on basically the parameters of our home as it is right now. The proposed deck would not extend out closer to our property line than the furthest edge of our home as it is now, nor would it extend back any further than the furthest back part of our home right now. We're seeking this petition for a couple of different reasons. One, simple convenience in order to be able to access our backyard, which right now we do not have direct access to. Right now, we need to go out a side door down into our driveway through a chain link fence gate to reach our backyard, which is completely fenced in. And I guess the other main component of that would just be simply a safety issue in the sense of we'd like to start a family, and we have a dog right now. If we would like to reach the backyard, as I said, right now we need to go out into the driveway, almost around the house and into the backyard to do that. And having this proposed deck would help us, increase the convenience of being able to step right onto the deck and down a flight of stairs into our backyard, and also keep us from unnecessarily having to go into the driveway in order to access that.
Okay, what you're requesting is a variance. What you need on that side is 15 feet. You're short by a couple of feet. Basically, what you need to do is to demonstrate to the board what your hardship is with this situation. And I think I heard you say the footprint of the current house creates a problem, and the layout of the interior of the house, of how you get in and out of the house. Is that correct?
It's correct. Yeah, our main point of egress is a side door right now that faces the driveway, which is on the right side of our home. And that's mainly our main point of entering and exiting the house, and then to access the backyard as well. So having this proposed deck actually is on the other side of the home, which will give us another entrance and exit point to our backyard. Correct.
So basically, you're telling the board you don't have too many choices where you can put this deck down.
Precisely. Exactly. Yes.
Okay, is that it?
That's about it. Yes.
Board members, any questions of the petitioner?
This is Steve Bernard here. Has there been any neighbors speaking in favor or against?
We haven't got to that part yet.
Oh, okay. Are any letters of support or in for or against? That's coming or good?
I have not received any.
Not received any. Okay, thank you.
Any of the board members? Okay, I'm going to close that portion. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor?
Mr. Chair, I see no hands raised.
Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition?
Mr. Chair, I see no hands raised.
Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there any public official who wants to be heard on the issue?
I see no hands raised, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. I'm going to open it up now for deliberations by the board. Board members.
Steve here. Although not quite to the letter of hardship, I think what the petitioner has presented to us does in fact present a somewhat of a hardship for the residents having not sufficient access to the backyard, and the safety hazard of going out to the side and then having to go through a fence. I would call it a hardship for this particular case, if accepted by the chief.
When I looked at the site, it would appear that what they want to do is not going to have a negative impact on the direct neighbor. And I think if that neighbor was in opposition, we would have heard something. So
I make a motion to grant.
I'll second.
okay, the motion is made and seconded, and I will put a stipulation on it that it will be built to the plans that were submitted to the board. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Lanus,
Yes.
Mr. Bernard,
yes,
Chief Williams,
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Okay, the vote is 5 in favor, none in the negative. The petition is granted.
Thank you, board.
Yep, good luck. The next petition, 2140, the petition of Madueno Fonseca, 17 Otis Street, Brockton, Mass, for a variance to enclose an existing porch which needs relief from setbacks in an R2 zone located at 17 Otis Street.
Good evening, board. Are we allowed to speak now?
Yes, please identify yourself.
My name is Sandy Fonseca. This is my uncle. Because he's not English, and I'm here to translate. And they told us,
Just be aware, your voice is breaking up. Your audio is breaking up.
I apologize. Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better now. Yep.
My name is Sandy Fonseca, and this is my uncle Madueno Fonseca. I'm here simply because I'm actually going to be translating because he does not understand nor speak the language. And we were told that that was okay.
Yes, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so so he is just trying to enclose the existing porch that was on the house that was done, I want to say maybe 10 to 15 years ago. His insurance company has pretty much said that he needs to, they came by the house and they said that they needed to get fixed. But in order for him to get it fixed, he needs to get a permit, which was denied because the existing porch is built, I guess, a little bit too close to the property line. So this is why he needs to get the permit. But right now, we got the setback of it being denied. So this is why we're here today, to see if we can possibly get it approved, because the insurance pretty much said that they're going to cancel insurance if he does not get everything that needs to get fixed.
So the insurance company is telling him that he needs to get this porch fixed, is that the deal?
Yes, because right now we have actually blocked it so no one can come up onto the porch, because again, the wires are hanging a little bit too low for children to be around, to play around. And so that was enclosed. We just blocked it off with like a piece of wood. And a little bit of the porch is kind of, it's like breaking down a little bit. So he wants to get it fixed and to enclose it as well, to make it accessible from the inside of the house.
So the intent here is to make this porch enclosed and make it part of the living area of the house.
Yes, sir.
So the stairway would be on the front of the new enclosure, which would then bring it closer to the setback from the sidewalk.
So there are stairs that just lead right down the side of it. And so I believe okay. So he said that he is leaving the stairs where they are. They're just going to come down the side. So everything's going to stay the same. It's just he just wants to enclose it.
All right, let me just get an understanding now. The stairway on the drawing that I have from Antonio shows the stairway on the front of the new addition. Are you saying the stairway will go on the side of the addition or on the front nearest to the street?
No, it's still on the front
All right,
because
so
the stairs are already on there.
That's showing that the deck is 15 feet from the sidewalk, and now the length of that landing is probably another 4 feet. So they're going to be about 11 feet back from the front.
I believe so, yes. Yeah, so John.
Okay, this is requesting a variance because you don't have sufficient front yard setback. And you need to show a hardship as to why you need to be allowed to do what you're requesting to do. And it would appear that you want to upgrade the front of the house and the foundation of the house You're obviously not gonna move.
Yes, yes, sir. No, they've been living here for as long as I can remember, and I'm 30 years old, so I know that they're not moving.
Do you know if the front of this house is similar to the setbacks of other houses on the street relative to the sidewalk?
I would say, because this is like the only raised ranch that's turned like the other way. All the raised ranches face the street. His does not face the street.
Okay, is that it?
Yes, but I guess the hardship would be just the insurance on the house is pretty much saying that they're gonna cancel insurance and can't have that.
Okay. I guess what I hear though is the insurance company says he has to fix the porch, but he wants to make the porch into living area.
Yes.
All right, board members, any questions?
When you talk about making the porch a living area, is what type of living area will be in that space? Will it be a kitchen, a dining room, a rec room? Oh,
It's gonna extend out to from the kitchen and the living room out.
mm-hmm. So in essence, there will be two rooms then, part of it being kitchen and part of it being living?
Yes, sir.
So the plan that I see, this would extend the living room, make it longer, is that true?
Yes, sir.
So you're not adding any rooms, you're just enlarging the two rooms that are there.
Yes, sir.
I had a question here. It says here it's enclosing the existing porch. Is this a total rebuild? you're
No,
not
it wouldn't
doing
be a
existing
total
one?
rebuild.
Okay, so now did the insurance say that the existing porch is not safe?
Pretty much, yes. Because they came by and they said, because I guess the base, so the poles are there and they're fine, but they said that the base, like the baseboards are what need to get fixed.
A casa, o site, eles te compõem bis. Para mim, creio que licença para compor bis.
Yeah, so he pretty much just said the whole house needs to get fixed and get shingled and everything, but he's more worried right now about that porch and about what the insurance said that need to happen.
Fix, yeah.
All right, so to further question that, what I'm hearing is you're going to build a addition room and roof on the existing foundation for that porch?
Yes, sir.
I gotta refer to the clerk here. Is that gonna be allowed, or is he gonna have to put a foundation in for that thing?
All permanent structures need a foundation, but a foundation could be sonotubes, or it could be a concrete foundation, or even block. So a permanent foundation will be required.
Okay.
So if this was approved, it would have to be to building code. And what I saw there now certainly isn't building code. So to get back to this question again, it's not the intention of the petitioner to build a foundation underneath of this addition. You want to put the addition on supporting posts similar to what's there now?
So a hora que eu fizer porch, eu tenho que pôr foundation baixo. E se eu querer pôr de foundation vez se eu querer pôr foundation também, assim ele fica mais seguro. Ou se eu querer pôr só naquele posto. Como esse foi eu tenho que pôr foundation baixo antes de fazer aquilo.
Ja, ik ben voor nu.
Okay.
Dus tudo que ele para se far.
Okay. So yes, he said that he would have to put the foundation down. He would want to put the foundation down so it can be more secure.
Oh, I would
If it's
think
going to be a
so.
living area.
Dus het nu.
I would think so. Okay, that's all the questions. Any other board members have a question?
I have a question. Just aesthetically speaking, this is Jim Sweeney.
Mhm.
Aesthetically speaking, are you going to make it more like it faces the street angle? Or, as it is sideways now, is it going to be more aesthetically like it's facing the street?
Yes, sir, because right now that's what the existing porch looks like. It's just facing the road.
But when you reconstruct it, is it going to look like it's actually facing the road?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
The plan shows that it possibly has a bay window going to be added to the front facing the street. Is that true?
Perché tem um window na street.
Yeah, the only
Tem um
thing,
window na
yes.
front part.
Any other board member questions? All right, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor?
I see no hands raised, Mr. Chair.
We'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition?
Again, no hands raised, Mr. Chair.
I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any public official that wants to be heard on the issue?
And there are no, oh, yes, Councilor Thompson.
Councilor Thompson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeffrey Thompson, Ward 5 City Councilor. So I had a conversation, I believe, with Ms. Fonseca, and I'm not sure if it is the woman before us today.
It is.
Oh, was it, ma'am? Okay.
Yes.
I think when we originally spoke, there was, I believe you stated that the intent was to have a 3-season porch, an enclosed 3 seasons. But you're saying that's no longer the case, that this is actually going to be an expansion of the living room, correct?
Yes, it would be a livable area, yes.
Okay, understood. So, you know, this house is kind of oddly shaped, members of the board. It's kind of sideways on the lot. The front door is like a sliding glass door, and it's not really a regular entrance door. So I believe there's a hardship with the way that this house is positioned on the property. So I believe the hardship is clear. I support the granting of the variance in this matter. And I hope the board does so. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Just one question back to petitioner. Is this going to be, this addition is going to be built with plywood and 2x4s, what we call a stick built, or is this going to be an aluminum type enclosure that's going to be assembled on the site?
I believe he's gonna be building it on like the plywood and everything.
Okay.
Because I didn't speak to the builder, because when this was originally done, I was deployed and I wasn't home. Came back and then they pretty much told me that it got denied and everything, and because of COVID, everything got set back. So I didn't speak to the builder, but from what I understand and from what he's told me, it is going to be built on plywood and it's going to be sturdy and everything. So.
Yeah. Okay, very good. All right, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. I am going to open it up for discussion by the board members.
Steve here. I'm concerned about the uncertainties as to just what is going to be built by the petitioners. No one seems to be really certain. I think it's beyond the interpretation. I don't think they have a firm plan or understanding of what they're going to do. So if it is granted, it should be granted with many stipulations. And I'll leave it to other board members to establish what those stipulations might be.
What I think I heard is this is going to be an extension of the current house on the same width footprint, but extending out the width of the porch. It is going to have a full foundation under it. And when it's built, it will look like the rest of the house. That's why I asked the question if this was going to be an aluminum 3-season porch that would be assembled on the site. And I think what I heard was it's going to be stick built on the site. So I am envisioning this addition to look like the rest of the house. That's what I heard. And the other board members chime in on it.
I would like to tag on the other board member, saying aesthetically, they're trying to correct how it was placed on the lot. So that's the only thing I want to voice.
The location of the house is not going to change. And in fact, in the past, what we've used for a hardship is the location of that foundation cannot be changed. So I guess what we're looking at tonight is to possibly grant them relief from the distance between the sidewalk and the front of that building. Right now, there is a deck that's on there. And from what I have seen, this addition will not project any closer to the sidewalk than the deck. The deck is going to be replaced by construction that will look like the rest of the house. That's what I'm envisioning.
Mhm. So we see a full foundation. We see it stick built. We see no further distance from the street than it presently is. We see an improvement in the aesthetics, which would certainly not be a derogation to the neighborhood, as it right now is not very attractive.
Yeah.
So it's certainly an upgrade. Given that, I'll make a motion to grant with the stipulations that it be a full foundation, stick built, and any others that the chief or other members might add.
The only
I'll
thing
second
that I
that.
would mention as part of that is, when you look at the rest of the houses on Otis Street, they are all relatively close to the sidewalk. I don't think this addition is really going to make a huge negative impact on what the aesthetics would look like on that street. But certainly, what they're trying to do down there is going to improve the house. And it sounds like he's got a real problem here, because the insurance company is telling him they're going to cancel the insurance if he doesn't fix it. So I guess this. So whatever you think, is that a form of a motion with those stipulations?
Yes, that was a motion to grant with the stipulations. But I was asking if there are other stipulations other than the full foundation and the stick built, that we take the time to determine what they are, and adding into the motion. Otherwise, the motion would still, my motion would be presented as is.
Okay. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant with those stipulations. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Lanus,
Yes.
Mr. Bernard,
Yes.
Chief Williams,
Yes.
Chairman Gallagher.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Okay, the vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition is granted.
Thank you, board members.
Hold on a second, my pen just ran out of ink. Okay, petition 2142 has been withdrawn. The next petition is 2143, the petition of Felony, 29 Lewiston Street, Brockton, Mass, for a personal dog kennel license in an R1C zone located at 29 Lewiston Street.
Hello, my name is Eve Bellamy, and I am currently sitting here with my wife, Karen Foster. and I was petitioning for the kennel license with no intent to sell or breed. It was just more for like the love of the animal. I currently have one dog, which is registered with the city of Brockton, and I am fostering 3 others. And I would just love in the near future just to be able to adopt it, more animals. So that's why I'm currently petitioning for it.
Okay, what you're looking for is a special permit. Legally, you can have 4 dogs. Once you go to the 5th and the 6th dog, you've got to come before the zoning board for special permission to do that.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything else that you want to say in your petition?
I've also had animal control officer Darren Hand came over. He definitely did a thorough check on an inspection of the area, just to make sure there's like no loose in the fence. Everything is secure for myself and then for my neighbors, and as well for the dog, the living area and everything as well, which he did submit a copy to me through email as well.
Okay, so the intent that you have is to have these dogs as personal dogs for the family.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
This is a little unusual for this board because usually we kind of go in the other direction. If somebody has too many dogs and they ask for permission to keep the dogs until a dog expires, and then they get down to the 4 dogs. So what you're asking tonight is 2 dogs beyond what's allowed.
Yes, sir.
In the past, we have been very specific about no selling of dogs, no boarding of dogs, no training of dogs. There's a whole litany of regulations: boarding, grooming, breeding of dogs. You're of the understanding that if this was granted, that stipulation would be placed there so that this would not become a business by any means.
Yes, I agree to it.
All right, in my conversation with the dog officer, he expressed to me that you did not have enough shelters for the dogs. And you had shelters ordered that had not arrived. Is that true?
Yes, the first time when Officer Darren Hand came over, and I did show him evidence in terms of I did order 2 houses, because before they did had a big wooden house, which I did put together, and you know, as dogs basically chew things, mess things up. So I basically had to throw it out and order 2 new ones. So when Officer Darren Hand came back for the second inspection, he basically said, I guess, according to the law, if you end up having 6 dogs, you would have to basically have a better shelter for them. In which I did tell him that, yes, I am currently working on it to build like at least a bigger wooden house for them. But for right now, I have 2 large igloos houses currently for them right now.
All right, so one of the considerations this board would have is that if we were to grant a special permit for 6 dogs, that if in fact the dog officer said that the conditions under which those dogs were going to be housed is not acceptable, the fact that you may have a special permit from the zoning board does not allow you to have whatever the number of dogs is that we allow. So if you're asking for 6, and this board decided that they would grant you 2 additional dogs for a total of 6, you could not have those 6 dogs on the premises until an inspection was done by the dog officer, and he approved that whatever you had there was sufficient for the 6. If he did not approve what you have built or provided for those dogs, then even though you have perhaps a special permit for 6, you would not be allowed to have 6 dogs there. You understand that?
Yes, sir. So question, if I was to basically, if that was to be granted to me and I have a contractor comes here to build a house that's adequate to what's needed, would that be possible for me to have the okay with that?
That would not be up to us. That would be up to the dog officer.
Okay. Okay.
I think what this board would say is based upon the circumstances that we know of the situation, if we felt that it was okay to have 6 dogs at that location, we could grant you a special permit for the 6 dogs. Beyond that, it now shifts over to the dog officer. If you don't provide sufficient housing for those dogs, then he will not grant you a license to have those 6 dogs, even though you may have permission from the zoning board to have 6. If we grant 6, that doesn't mean that you can have 6 dogs tomorrow morning.
Right.
It means that those dogs can only be kept on the premises as long as they're in conformance with what the dog officer determines.
Okay.
You follow my reasoning?
Yes, sir.
So is there any particular reason why, that you can explain to the board why you need 6 dogs?
I said 6 dogs because of my 3 children.
Okay, well, I guess that's your choice. It's our decision whether or not we want to grant 6 dogs. So. All right, I am now going to open it up for discussion from the board. Is there any questions that the board may have of the petitioner?
I do. I've had someone reached out to me in regards that lives on the street in the negative to that. They would rather not have it.
I had a lengthy discussion with the dog officer on this, and they did some investigating from his prior location, and there was no problems in a prior location, for whatever that's worth. So you have had someone speak to you in the negative.
Yes.
Okay. Any other board members have any comments? Questions?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Mr. Bellamy.
Yes, sir.
Are there times of the day where these dogs would be, say, left alone? Or is either yourself or your wife or a family member there kind of 24/7?
Yes. The dogs are never left unattended on their own because my wife works from home and I am currently from home too. So it's never anything like that for them to be out. It's just for a short amount of time that they get the exercise in, we interact with them, with the kids, and then they come right back in. So my dogs are never outside to even say it's an accidental to leave them out there. No, they ever slept outside. Like even to the point where I'm kind of the common courtesy of my neighbors, I don't even let them out after a certain time past 8 o'clock, to be honest with you. My dogs don't even stay outside past 8 o'clock.
Okay, and the reason for my question is I'm a little confused on the fact that it sounds like you're supplying shelter for them to be out in the backyard for maybe extended periods, but that's not going to be the case?
No, that's not the case. My dogs are always inside the house. It's just when they're outside, I give them enough room for them to run around. And if the kids, the family want to just hang out, we can just basically do it. So like I said, my dogs are always inside the house. It's just when they're outdoors for a certain amount of time, and then they come right back in again.
Okay, thank you.
So what is this conversation with the dog officer about shelters?
He basically told me that I guess if the board was to grant it, it will come with a stipulation in terms of like if it's the adequate way, he will come back and do inspection, and then from there we'll go forward. That's basically what he told me. So once I'll have the proper housing, like he told me, he will come back and then do the inspection again.
So the proper housing you're talking about is dog houses in the yard, correct?
The dog housing, if the possibility of me having 6 dogs.
Okay, so the previous question was then that there's got to be shelter out in the yard for 6 dogs.
If the
They're
dogs,
telling us that the dogs mostly are going to be inside, but
If
I
the
guess the
dogs-
dog officer is telling me that you have to provide shelter in the yard for 6 dogs.
I have the shelter outside for them if they're outside for a certain amount of time, and just in case if it's rain, so that way they're not sitting in the rain. It's just more like just to keep them warm and stuff like that. But it's not for them to sleep there. It's just more like, okay, we're outside. If you want to take a break, you go inside the house for a while, and then that's it. But it's nothing for like overnight stay, nothing like that. It's just for during the day and just to get out the sun, just to cool down or whatever they want to do. That's pretty much what the shelter is for. It's just for like for the time being of you being outside. It's not for the overnight. All my
I see.
dogs are inside the house, sir.
Are any of these dogs rescue dogs from another part of the country?
No, not part of the country. It just basically from other people that just couldn't handle it. And then that's how I end up fostering them, sir. But one of them is registered, which is she is a Brindle. Roughly, she's gonna be 2 years old, or probably like 2 years old. She is licensed with the city of Brockton.
Who is licensed with the city of Brockton?
Elsa, my dog.
Your dog. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, you're not going to take care of these dogs for a fee for anybody, are you?
No, nothing like that. Like I said, it's just the love for the animal. That's pretty much what it is, sir. With no intent to breed, sell, anything like that. It's not a profit for me.
Okay, and the other thing that you would have to realize that if this is granted as a special permit, this permit is going to go with you personally. This is not like a variance where it goes with the property. It's going to go with you. So if you should move, then this special permit will end.
Okay.
It's only for you for personal use, and there will be stipulations on here about the fact that you cannot bring other dogs in, you cannot board dogs, breed dogs, sell dogs, do anything for a fee. This is strictly for domestic use only.
Yes,
That's
that's understood, which Officer Darren Hand also told me that too, as well. And he told me that it's one of those things where if, God forbid, one of them was to pass away, I can't just replace them. I basically would have to reapply all over again. I can't just say, okay, one died or whatever the case is and having to bring another one. So he pretty much gave me the whole walkthrough on the requirements and everything else in order to have this.
That's what we've done in the past. As a dog expires, the number goes down.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying to us?
No, that's what Officer Darren Hand, he basically told me how that works. Like the requirement is one of those, just because you have the kennel license, that doesn't mean that if one of them dies, God forbid one of them dies, I could just bring one overnight to just replace the one that died, he told me.
All right. Any other questions from any board members? We good? Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor?
Mr. Chair, I see no hands raised.
I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone who wants to speak in opposition?
Again, Mr. Chair, no hands are raised.
I was wondering if
Anyone?
I could just ask a couple of questions, if that's possible.
Who is speaking?
My name is Steve Hubbard. I'm a neighbor. I live on the next street over.
Okay, I will allow you to ask a question. Go ahead.
My only concern was about noise. If you know, I saw about the variance of getting a kennel, and I thought, oh, am I going to be hearing dogs barking all day and night? I don't know how enclosed the kennel is, or if the initial intention is just to have personal dogs and then it might change over time. I just am concerned about noise. That's my only issue.
Okay, if I can answer that question, I think you'll find the word kennel is used to describe an amount of dogs. And a kennel could be used as a commercial kennel where dogs are boarded, breeded, people drop them off during the day, pick them up at night, or it can be a personal collection of not more than 6 dogs is what we're talking about tonight. He can legally have 4 dogs. He's asking for 2 additional dogs, but it will not be a commercial kennel these are the same dogs that would be there day after day. They would not be coming and going on a daily basis. There'd be no commercial operation with this whatsoever. That's how it would, if it's granted, that's how it'll be stipulated.
Okay, yes, yeah. But is there any, I'm all set. All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
No, it's fine. My only question was how open air the kennel is, but he did say that he would be bringing them in at night. So I assume it wouldn't even be an issue. I mean, I don't expect him to be legally bound to bring them in every night.
Okay, it sounds like these will be his personal dogs. Okay, is there any elected official that wants to be heard on this issue?
But I'm taking dogs barking all the time, or that was my only concern, was just the noise, that's all.
Okay, there is an avenue that if that does become a problem that you can take relative to the dog officer. And where he has a special permit, that would carry some weight as to how long that could go on. So. All right, any elected official want to be heard on the issue?
Councilor Thompson has his hand raised.
Okay.
I apologize. Speaking of dogs, mine's going crazy.
That was in opposition, or?
I did also speak with Mr. Bellamy regarding his request, and I spoke as well with Officer Hand in his reporting of the premises. So I think, Mr. Chair, you brought up the issues that Mr. Hand brought up with me. And so I'm not sure if the kennel license is going to be stipulated upon a final inspection by Mr. Hand, but I think that'd be appropriate that prior to the granting of any license, Officer Hand provides a final report showing that Mr. Bellamy meets the requirements for his kennel license. Secondly, to Mr. Hubbard, if you're still on the call, regarding noise, there is a process in which if there is excessive noise or nuisance noise, a complaint can be filed with the city clerk's office, and then that matter would be adjudicated through the city. So we're hoping that won't be the case, but it is not a situation that is not resolvable. I myself have not received any complaints from any concerns or opposition from any constituents. So I just want to bring that to the board's attention. I would be in favor of granting this. Again, speaking with Mr. Hand, and as Chairman stated, there were Mr. Bellamy priorly lived in Boston, and there were no complaints regarding his animals in Boston. So I believe he's a good animal owner. I think with what he discussed tonight, he'll be able to manage the 6 dogs. So I do, I am in favor of the petition, and I would ask that the board approve this petition. But I would like just to ask one question for the board's knowledge. Mr. Bellamy, could you tell the board the types and sizes of dogs that you plan on having at your house? And that's all I have. Thank you.
I'm currently right now, though, my oldest, which is Dash, she is a spayed American Terrier. Elsa is a Cane Corso, and I have 2 small ones. So it's nothing dog that's fearing where people gotta fear them. Even when Officer Hand came, my dog was in good behavior. He was surprised. He was like, oh my God, they well behaved. So I'm not the type of person that's just gonna bring any type of dog into my house or just be kind of delinquent about this responsibility, because I do take this serious. And the fact that I care for my neighbors, I care for my family. So I wouldn't do anything to jeopardize myself, nor my neighbors, or nor my animals.
Well, I appreciate that, Mr. Bellamy. Do you know, have you already identified the 2 additional dogs that you would be bringing onto your property? And if so, could you also tell us what types of dogs and maybe their size?
No, it's just like something just in the near future.
Okay, I understand. Thank you, Mr. Bellamy. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members of the board.
Thank you, Councilor Thompson.
Thank you. Just for the edification of the board, just a sample of what we have done for others similar to this. And I would think that this would probably be helpful to us in making a decision. As a condition of allowing the license at this location, the following stipulations shall be strictly maintained. There shall be no more than 6 dogs on the premises at any one time. There shall be no breeding of dogs, no sales of dogs, no boarding or grooming of dogs. The dogs in the premises shall be family pets only, with no commercial operations whatsoever. The keeping of the family pets shall not create any nuisance or negative impact on the neighbors or neighborhoods. So that was a stipulation that we've used in the past, which I think would fit this one. All right, I'll close that portion of the hearing. I'll open it up now for discussion among the board members.
I think that 6 dogs is an unreasonable number of dogs to have for personal use, and it would set a poor precedent, assuming that anyone that wanted to have 6 dogs would feel free to apply for a kennel license. So I'm leaning towards no, but I'm open to further discussion at this point.
I would suggest that if we are entertaining a motion to approve, that the stipulations that I just read that we have used in the past be used, and if the special permit were granted, it would be for domestic use only, and it would be for the current owner only. I don't know what else we can put on there other than the fact that the city code for years said the maximum number of dogs you could have without approval of the zoning board was 3. But I am now told that the state has changed that, so statewide, the new number is 4. So without him even coming to us, he can have 4 dogs on the premises. So in effect, what he's looking for is 2 additional. So what I'm thinking is too, is if he had 4 dogs without coming to us, we would have no control over what's going on there. With the stipulations that we have, in order to allow him to have 6 dogs, 2 additional, there's a lot of stipulations that are going to be part of this that wouldn't be part of it if he had 4 dogs. That's a different way to look at it.
I don't mean to butt in. This is Steve Hubbard again, the neighbor. I know I'm not a board member, but just my point of view with all those stipulations, I'm personally in favor of it. I don't have a problem.
Thank you.
I make a motion to grant with the stipulations.
If there is no further discussion from the board member, other board, I make a motion to grant with the hopes that it fails.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to grant. The clerk will please call the roll.
Mr. Sweeney,
No.
Mr. Lance,
No.
Mr. Bernard,
No.
Chief Williams,
Yes.
Chair Gallagher.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 2 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative.
3 in the negative, 2 in the affirmative. The petition is denied. Thank you. The next petition is 2144, petition of George Mendes, 841 Center Street, Brockton, Mass. For a variance from Article 3, Section 27.9 and 27.13A to subdivide and construct a single-family home in an R1C zone located at 841 Center Street.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. With me present on the Zoom is engineer Azu Itanaru and also the applicant, Mr. Mendes, who's under the name Miss Alves, who's present. Mr. George Mendes is petitioning the board tonight, seeking a variance under Article 3, Section 27.9, 27.13A to subdivide his lot in order to create a single-family house on a newly created lot. In order to do so, he is looking for relief for the lot's frontage and lot area requirements. As shown on the plot plans provided, the property is located at 841 Center Street in the city of Brockton. Mr. Mendes bought this property back in 2005, which contains an existing single-family residence on 18,909 square feet of land. This plot is in an R1C zone where the property lies on the corner of both Center and Fred Street. Mr. Mendes hopes to subdivide this lot into two lots. The first lot, Lot 1, would contain the existing property with a driveway off of Center Street. This lot would contain 11,402 square feet and have 94.66 feet of frontage. The lot would meet the front and side minimum setback requirements. The new lot proposed would then contain a new single-family residence directly behind Lot 1, with a driveway entrance on Fred Street. Lot 2 would contain 7,507 square feet of property with 105 feet of frontage. In addition, it would meet all front, sides, and rear setback requirements. The property location has a unique shape as shown on the plan, in which the property sits on the corner of two public ways. Also, in the present case, Mr. Mendes' existing property does have ample open space to the rear where Lot 2 would be located. Like I stated, the frontages and land areas for the two lots are consistent with the neighborhood, and the proposed setbacks would be conforming. One of the hardships that Mr. Mendes has is due to the shortage of new housing and good-sized lots in the city of Brockton, there is a market-driven hardship. Mr. Mendes does have a very large family in which he does plan on, if the board grants this new proposed house, he was going to have his two older daughters be able to live where they grew up here in the city of Brockton. Based on all these reasons, Mr. Mendes is asking you to grant his petition, granting him relief in order to build this house on his property. I don't know if Azu would like to share anything else.
Mr. Vail, I believe you've basically articulated the rationale for Mr. Mendes' petition, and the plan is pretty straightforward. And I do believe that the fact that the layout provides for adequate setbacks, I do believe that it will not derogate from the intent of the tenants for the locus. And again, the proposed use and the layout is pretty consistent with the neighborhood. Thank you.
Just as a clarification, this board in 2005 granted a variance to that house on Center Street, converting it to a two-family. Are you aware of that? So the house there now is a two-family, am I correct?
Yes, Chairman. I did put that I knew that there was the petitioner did tell me that there was an approval by the board at some point, but I did try to look it up and try to find what was actually done, which I did have no record of it. But this proposed dwelling is going to be a single family.
I just want to clarify the fact that when they came to us in 2005, they were granted a two-family based upon the size of the lot currently exists before it was divided up. Have you been to the planning board on this one?
We have been, I wasn't present, but I know Azu was, and if you have any questions regarding planning board, but I think that there was some concerns whether there would be parking, which you do show that there would be a proposed driveway on Fred Street where there would be ample parking for his daughter and family to live there. It would actually relieve some of the neighbors' concerns with parking on the street by having it in a parking lot and conforming with the neighborhood.
Well, my information is that the planning board denied this. Anybody speak on that?
Yes, Azul here, Mr. Chairman. Yes, the planning board denied it because it felt that the angle of the lot layout was not a natural division. But the reason that it's divided the way it's divided, Mr. Chairman, is to provide historically provide a frontage that is at least 9,500 feet, and we're proposing 105 feet of frontage. And that angled sideline that we're proposing, Mr. Chairman, is to indeed provide for proper setbacks. So that is the hardship, and that is why the shape of the land is indeed unique in itself.
Mr.
And
Chair,
the shape is unique because of the way it was divided, or proposed to be divided.
Mr. Chair, this is the
Yes.
building. I just want to advise you that under Chapter 40A, Mass General Laws, the planning board has the authority to subdivide property and the ZBA does not. So the ZBA can only hear about variances on the particular deficiencies on a particular piece of property. If the property does not exist, you cannot hear it.
So the problem we're faced with tonight is they're here before zoning, when in fact the planning board, who has the authority to create the lot, has denied it. And the way the lot has been divided, the existing dwelling at 841 Center Street now does not have sufficient rear yard setback, side yard setback. I mean, actually, if this was to be further pursued here, you need a variance for the existing house and a variance for the newly created lot. We can't create lots.
I did provide two applications for that, the existing structure as well as proposed structure for the application.
Okay. All right, any other questions of the board on the petition? If not, I'm going to close that portion. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor?
Mr. Chair, we do have a Katie Archibald who wishes to speak in favor. Her hand is up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Katie Archibald. I live on Fred Street. Two of my neighbors sent letters of objection. I just want to make sure you have them. I read Rachel's. It was quite articulate, I thought, and I support the arguments she made. I have not read Annette's.
All right, so are you speaking in opposition or in favor?
Oh, I'm in opposition.
Okay, hold
yeah,
on just a minute.
There is a traffic issue, and adding a new house.
Hold on, ma'am.
Okay,
I'm not
sorry.
in that area right now. I'm talking about anyone who wants to speak in favor at this point.
Oh, I'm sorry. I changed mics and I didn't hear what you said.
All right, hold on for just 1 minute.
Sure.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor?
Mr. Chair, I see none.
Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition?
Ms. Archibald, you can go now.
Okay, so Katie Archibald.
Yes. So at the planning board meeting in February, my recollection is that they denied it because it would make an already non-conforming lot more non-conforming. That was one of the reasons they cited. And a lot of we neighbors have an issue that the parking is already tight at the end of the street when you're trying to get onto Center Street, and adding another house would just make it worse. See, it's not just two people with two cars who live in the houses at the end of the street. It's lots of people with lots of cars. So, you know, adding a house is just going to exacerbate the situation. But my neighbor Rachel sent a letter in opposition, and I thought she made some really good points. So I just want to make sure you people have that in front of you and
Okay,
have had
I
a
have
chance
couple
to
that I'm
read
going
it.
to reference here. Are you all set?
Yes.
Okay. For the benefit of the board, I have a couple of letters that have come in to the
Okay.
zoning board referencing this 841 Center Street. And the first one is, I'll just be brief on these, but I do need to read them. My name is Mary Jane Butler. I live at 17 Fred Street, Brockton, Mass. And I'm opposed to having another single-family home put in at 841 Center Street. My fence is right against their property, and I don't think there would be enough room if they subdivide this property. Also, there's always 3 to 4 cars parked on Fred Street that belong to that property, even during the winter. I would like to know how far the house would have to be to protect my property line and where the additional cars would be parked. I also received a text from Annette Hanwha and Hanwha Harnett, also not in favor, and a note that the planning board voted not to approve. I have another one from a Carol Nelson.
Oh,
I
Carol
oppose
Nelson.
Mr. Mendes' petition to build another house. People visiting homes on Center Street are parking on the side streets and filling them on both sides. I already have too much loud music, loud cars, burning in fire pits, and dogs barking. Another house crowded in will most likely add to those problems. Thank you, Steve. No.
She's complaining about the parking too.
From Rachel and Jackson Silva. All right, bear with me for a second. I would like the following letter to be read in the May 11th public Zoom meeting. Good evening, board members. I would like to say that I am all for growth and development, and everyone deserves the right to use their property where it is fit. This plan, however, in my opinion, is very forced and will detract from the look of the neighborhood.
She's reading
further
Rachel's letter.
Public safety and traffic issues.
So
that
let
we
me
already
see if I
overcome.
can.
It appears both lots are in R1C districts, both requiring 30,000 square feet and 175 feet of frontage, which neither lot meets. In the plan that's proposed, the applicant is looking to re-subdivide the existing lot into 2 non-conforming lots and make the existing home more non-conforming than its current state. The existing home will not meet the rear setback, and this is not mentioned in the paperwork asking for variance or shown on the plan. The lots and lot lines look forced and are not consistent with the existing lots in the neighborhood. Lastly, the lawyer mentioned due to the shortage and market-driven hardship. Is this basis of the variance request? This does not meet any of the criteria for approval of a variance. The topography on the lot is relatively flat. It was always a non-conforming lot, so I'm unsure how this is a hardship in any way as described in Chapter 48, Section 10. The proposal does take from the neighborhood as a detriment. Approving this variance would set precedent that anyone with little extra land can use this as a sample to make money on non-conforming lots of houses, only to make them more non-conforming, and justify this by saying that there is a market shortage. To recap, this will make a non-conforming lot more non-conforming for the benefit of market rate hardship, not topography or any real true hardships described in 48. Take away from the current feel and layout is consistent with that neighborhood, in fact creating a detriment. So those are the letters that I received in opposition for this location. All right, anyone else that wants to speak in opposition?
I see none, Mr. Chair.
Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. I'm now going to open it up to any public official that wants to be heard on the issue.
Councilor Thompson's would like to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jeffrey Thompson, Ward 5 City Councilor. I am also in opposition to this petition. You know, and I'm heartened by the research and the knowledge being done by my constituents in the area. I think that last letter read was clear on the issue about nonconformity. I think also the building inspector was correct where there is no subdivided lot here. Therefore, from my understanding, this petition would be asking to build a second dwelling on one lot, which we all know is prohibited under our zoning ordinance. So for all the reasons stated by the opposition or the planning board denying this petition, I believe this matter should not be approved, and I would ask that the board members do not grant the petition. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the board.
Thank you, Council. Any other public officials want to be heard on this issue?
I did have the opportunity to meet some of the neighbors today, and from front to back on a quiet single-family street, strong opposition.
This is Jim Sweeney? Okay. All right, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Deliberations from members of the board. Board members. We just heard from Jim relative to neighbors on the street that he talked to.
I visited the property and sees quite a bit of activity. There are quite a number of people at the particular property. Number of cars and vans and storage sheds on the property, and where the planning board has denied it, and all the other reasons that it should not be granted. I too would be against this petition.
Any other comments? I didn't see any hardship that was demonstrated here, other than the fact that somebody's looking for housing. I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to grant in hopes that it fails.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant. All those, the clerk will please call the roll.
Mr. Sweeney,
No.
Mr. Lanus,
No.
Mr. Bernard,
No.
Chief Williams,
No.
Chair Gallivan.
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 0 in the affirmative, 5 in the negative.
Okay, the vote is no. Members in favor, 5 in the negative. The petition is denied.
Thank you, members.
Thank you. The next petition, 2145, the petition of Ottilio Gergo of Gergo Homes LLC, 44 Greenbrier Road, Brockton, Mass, for a variance from Article 3, Section 27.9, Table 1, to construct a two-family residential dwelling in an R3 zone located at 8 and 10 Tremont Street. Is the petitioner ready? I think Jake is the petitioner and he's not on.
Jake, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
sir.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Chairman. Attorney Jake Creed, and with me is Al Burgo. I believe Azu is on a separate remote hearing. Is that correct, Azu? You there?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. And again, Mr. Chairman, good evening to you, members of the board. A quick, Attilio is the owner of that property. If any of you have visited it, it is a vacant lot at the moment. It has been vacant for some time. It is at the intersection basically of Main Street and Tremont Street. That makes it in between Main Street and Warren Ave. It is a heavily core city multifamily R3 zone. Historically, for those of you who don't remember, there was a there were two lots on that house. There were two different lots on two different parcels, the front and the rear. The front was a two-family and the back was a single family. I believe they were raised probably 15 to 20 years ago. It abuts obviously Main Street, which is a commercial zone, which has all commercial. And everything on Tremont Street, which incidentally is one way, which I suggest is a very positive thing for any impact by traffic, which I suggest there is none, with 4 parking spaces necessary for a two-family. The two-family would be an up and down. You can see from the plans, the housing plans, it's a 3-bedroom request. And the exit, there are 2 exits, both from the first floor and the second floor, front and rear. We need a variance, obviously, for some sideline situations. The lot is over 5,000 square feet, has been an existing lot of record since 89, with houses on it. The green space requirements, which you'll see on our plan, if you have it, I'm sure you do, shows that we have exceeded the regulation, which is 30% green space, and we're showing about 43%. And Azu can attest to that, I believe, if there's any question. There are utilities already on the property. As you will note, if you've been there, there is a very modern, significant fence there that it was put up by Al Burgo. The next door neighbor I've met a number of times, and I believe they have no problem at all with the request that we're making. The 4 parking spaces, as you can see from the design of the situation, 3 of them, all 4 of them, 180 square feet. 3 of them are designated, as you can see, as you come in off the property on Tremont Street to the right. The 4th space is a space straight ahead on the driveway, which is the beginning of it is an existing driveway that was the driveway for both of those houses. That is also 920. There is, again, the lot itself is around just under 55 square feet. For the record, the tax bill lately is down around $200 or $300. Another positive thing for the city would be this would increase the tax base for that property, which has just been sitting. And I guess I don't have to tell you that in zoning, the highest and best use of a property is whatever the residential zone is designated as. And here, of course, we have an R3. For those of you that have visited the neighborhood, virtually every single house on Tremont and that whole area are at least 2-family, if not 3s, 4s, and 6s. There is a hydrant for fire safety directly across the street in front of Tremont Street 13 and 15. It's diagonally off of this property. So that's another positive situation. Again, I'd certainly take questions. I don't know that there is anything in the house plans. It would be a peaked roof similar to all the houses on the street. And again, decks front and back. That's basically the proposal. for this property. Azu, would you like to add anything to the situation? Azu, are you there?
Attorney, yes, Attorney Creedon, I believe you've articulated substantively and adequately captured the essence of the plan. In this particular case, the only thing I would add is that if the buildings were not raised, you would have a two-family and a single family on two separate lots that are undersized. So I do believe that what we are doing here is actually an improvement of what would have been a very bad situation in terms of minimizing the number of dwellings that would have been located. As you may recall, under 81L exemption, under the subdivision control law, those two properties were still in standing. You can actually divide them whether they are conforming or not. So by combining the two parcels, I think the applicant is actually demonstrating a good faith effort in trying to improve the neighborhood, and that is the extent of my input. And I do agree with Attorney Creedon that if you look at the green space, we actually were providing ample green space for the locust. So we would implore the board to grant the requested relief. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and through the member of the board. For a hardship situation, obviously it's an existing parcel with two parcels, and its highest and best use is residential. The whole area is R3. It is a little bit oddly shaped because of the rear, as you can see on the plan. And again, it could only be, it could not negatively impact, I don't think, the neighborhood at all. It'd be a nice, there is actually one other on the street at the other end in Tremont before Warren Ave that's recently been built or renovated, which has also improved that area. So that's basically what I think the hardship is also, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Any questions from the board members? You mentioned that this lot abuts Main Street.
Yes, it does.
It does not.
Well,
Not on my map.
I think what I meant, Chief, you're right. What I think I meant is that up 2 lots away is Main Street, where you know, the C2 zone, the C2 zone, I think, starts right at this lot. All along Main Street, as we know, there are varying depths of the C2 situation, which the board has been very wisely permitting commercial to kind of square off those commercial lots. And this clearly is in a residential multifamily zone. Again, nearly abutting Main Street.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we understand that.
Oh, yeah.
There is a vacant lot that actually sits on the corner.
Yes.
And this vacant lot is behind that vacant lot.
Correct.
Okay.
I agree with you. Yep.
Now, you're also saying that on this parcel, there is 2 lots. There's one very small lot that sat in the rear, and it had a right-of-way that went out to Tremont Street.
Correct.
What's the situation with that lot that sits in the rear?
Well, it's part of the ownership by Mr. Burgo, and would be part of this whole use that we're requesting. The driveway, if you've seen it, there is you see the start of a bituminous driveway that goes directly where you see it, right to the pathway up the to the rear of the property.
So
presently the entrance is there for what was those other 2 houses.
Would it be your intention that both of these lots would be combined in one deed?
Yes. Not the 2 lots that we're talking about are on the plan. And, yeah,
So my question is, there's two separate lots sitting here. Are they one lot or are they two
two
lots?
separate parcels.
Yeah, they will be combined. Yes, if I may add, Attorney Creedon, those
Thank
two
you.
parts will be combined.
Plot 1B and plot 1A.
It is combined right now.
It's already combined, according to Mr. Burgo.
Yes, it is combined.
Okay, and the other point that I want to make sure we understand is that the requirement for square footage for a two-family here is 10,000 square feet.
Yes.
All right, on the plan, somebody has put in here, the required footage for this is 5,000 square feet. It's not, it's 10,000 square feet.
No, it's 5,000. The zone, an R3 zone is.
So you have 5,442 square feet, and what is required is 10,000 square feet.
Azul, can you answer that question?
Yeah, in the R3, according to the table of our dimensional requirements, it's over 5,000.
5,000, yeah.
5,000.
It's 5,000 for each unit.
No, 5,000 square foot. For
5,000 for single, 5,000 for each unit.
no.
Mr. Chair, this is the zoning
R3
enforcement
zone
officer, and
requirement is 5,000.
5,000 per unit.
7-5.
I think 27 section 5 indicates it's 5,000 square feet in an R3 zone.
Council, that'd be per unit. If you want to look on the left-hand side of the table, it says per unit.
Just per unit, yeah. All right, I'm not going to dwell on that situation. Any other questions from the board members to the petitioner?
To Attorney Creedon, you
Yes.
used a word that I'm not familiar with. What does bituminous mean?
Blacktop,
Bituminous means blacktop?
yes.
Okay, all right, that's a new one to me.
That's a driveway, you know, the streets are made of the same thing, Mr. Bernard.
Mhm.
It's bituminous concrete, actually, but we know it as tar or blacktop.
Okay,
And at the
thank you.
start of that property where the access was for those two houses years ago is still there. It goes in about 10 feet. The
Mhm.
opening, which is shown right on the map here.
Yep, I got,
Right
I
away.
got,
Okay?
okay. Very good, thank you.
Is the board
Thank
all
you.
set? We're going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor?
Mr. Chair, I see none.
We'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition?
Mr. Chair, I see none.
Is there any public official that wants to be heard on the issue?
Mr. Chair, I see none.
Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. I'm going to open it up for deliberations from the board. Board members.
Chief, would it help if I just indicate, I'm going to read to you the R3 zone, 5,000 square feet for two family in an R3. I'm reading out of 29-9.
Look on the, look,
Okay,
look on the left
just
side
to
of it.
clarify that little point.
Yeah, look on the
That's
left
way we
side of
saw
it.
it. Thank you.
Right, board members.
I think that's the best use for that piece of property to build a residential house, and two-family would be fine.
I would second that and agree with the progression.
Mr. Bernard. Mhm. I haven't put that in the form of a motion. I was just making a comment for other board members.
So I think what we heard from the petitioner was that there were two homes on this piece of property years ago. apparently a two-family out front and a one single-family in the rear with a right-of-way that came down the driveway to that back house. One concern that we have here is how the parking is laid out in the front. I think for more green space, I would like to see 2 spaces in the front and 2 in the driveway.
We don't have a problem with that, Chief, Mr. Chairman.
That would give us, you know, we're not making it, I'm just throwing this out for conversation between the board members here. That this wouldn't be a real material change in the plan, but it would certainly give it a little more green space so that if this was approved, you could have, say, the first floor people have the driveway and the second floor people have the front or whatever. Just a thought. I'll throw it out there, see what you think.
I certainly think that makes sense to have more green space. It adds to the neighborhood, rather than having blacktop, bituminous or otherwise.
You know, I'm not really crazy about one car parking behind the other, but if one car is behind the other and they're both of the same family,
right?
Sometimes you can work around that problem. But when you got multi-families and somebody's parked them behind you, it's not a very friendly situation.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, would you have a suggestion which parking space out front you'd want to eliminate if we did that?
Well, that's a good question. I'm just thinking that that piece of green space that we see along by the sidewalk, that'll never exist. I guarantee you right now, that'll be blacktop right to the sidewalk and that'll be the end of it. So if that was pushed back about 8 feet or so from the sidewalk, then you would maintain that. And if you put a curb around that edge, like a blacktop berm, it would maintain itself. But,
I'd agree with that, yeah.
you know, here we are trying not to allow people to blacktop their front yards. This is a unique situation. It's a very tight neighborhood. I'm not crazy about blacktopping this whole front yard for parking. So my thought is, if you took about 8 or 10 feet back from the sidewalk, made it green grass, put a Cape Cod, not a Cape Cod berm, but a berm around that blacktop that forms the front. At least one family could use that section while the other family uses the other section, and it gets the people off the street. And it cleans up a mess.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Berg has no problem doing that at all, and it makes sense too.
Well, this is between the board members. I'm throwing it out there. I'd like to get some feedback. What do board members think? What do you think about that?
Well, I like the idea of having green space, some green space in the front. We're opposed to, full blacktop. In previous meetings, we've talked about that. It's not very attractive.
Yeah, I agree with that also.
I would agree.
Yep.
My suggestion would be the front spot closest to the street for green space.
And if we do this, I think what we got to be careful of is that they don't run the grass and the blacktop the same height, because that grass is just going to disappear. They're either going to park on it, they're going to pave it over or whatever. But if it's raised with some kind of a berm, at least we're going to preserve the grass. And I think that's what we're looking for in some of these neighborhoods. As you look down the street, at least there's some conformity. I'm not a favor of putting parking in the front, but if this was to be approved, I think there isn't too many options with this. So that would be my suggestion, that if the board leans toward approving this, that we put a stipulation on there that there'd be 2 parking spaces in the driveway and 2 parking spaces in the front with at least an 8 or 10 foot setback from the sidewalk of green space.
Mr. Chairman, with those stipulations, I'll make a motion to grant.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded with the stipulations that there be no more than 2 parking spaces on the front, that there be 8 to 10 feet of grass, and that there be a berm around that blacktop that forms the front. Motion's been made and seconded. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Sweeney. Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Landis?
Yes.
Yes.
Chief Williams?
Yes.
Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
All right, vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Petition is granted. Good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board.
Let's go, my man.
The next petition is 2146, the petitioner Robert Keane of 155 Rock Island Road, Quincy, Mass. To construct 3 single-family dwellings as a condominium association in an R1C zone located at 134 Armiston Street. Is the petitioner ready?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Sean Hardy. I'm an engineer with Hardy and Mann Design Group for the applicant. Who they're also on the call, I believe. That's Steve Miller is the name on the Zoom. You guys have the plans, or do I need to share a screen, or how do you want me to proceed?
I believe all the board members should have the plans.
Okay.
Board members, everybody got a plan?
Yes.
Okay, so the proposal is to, as you said, to construct at 134 Armiston Street, 3 proposed condominium units. The existing lot is it's more than 141,000 square feet, just over 3.2 acres. It only has 46 feet of frontage on Armiston Street, so it's at the end of Armiston Street. There's an existing residence on it. Also on the lot, there is a sewer easement that crosses it. There's a 150-foot wide electrical easement. There is also wetlands down to the rear of the property. The elevation of the site at Armiston Street is approximately at elevation 190, and it drops about 40 feet down to that back end where those wetlands are to an elevation of about 150. So there's clearly some challenges with that site. But in any event, we had originally proposed to construct a subdivision, a definitive subdivision, and we showed 6 lots, and we sent that to planning for some preliminary discussions. At that time, through the wetlands and conservation, we were told that we should push further away from the wetlands. Some of our drainage was proposed within a 25-foot that they have historically said they don't want any structures or anything in there. So then we shortened the road and proposed to construct a 5-lot definitive subdivision with a 40-foot wide right-of-way. Again, this lot only has 46 feet of frontage, so we felt as though that would have been adequate. It certainly would have met what Armiston Street has, which is 40 feet right-of-way. We received preliminary approval for that plan from the planning board, but the requirement, but they conditioned a 50-foot wide right-of-way, making that impossible to construct, again, only having 46 feet of frontage. We then tried proposing to subdivide for 2 lots, each with 23 feet of frontage, and through planning staff, we were told that probably they would not be in support of that. So we are here proposing to you 3 houses in a condominium association, a private driveway maintained by the condominium association, utilities all maintained by that condominium association. It would have substantial open space as proposed. It's 12% lot coverage on a 3.2 acre lot, so significant open space available. That basically is the proposal. And again, the significant challenges, the elevation, the 40-foot grade change, the wetlands on the site, sewer easement on the site, the power easement on the site, and but for 4 more feet of frontage, we feel as though this could very easily have been a permittable 5-lot definitive subdivision.
Are you indicating that all of those issues with the sewer, electrical easement, and topography is your hardship at this location?
Yeah, I believe they do.
Does this lot currently have one house on it?
Yes, it does.
And that house was destroyed in a fire?
I don't know the exact status, but yes, it was, it's certainly in need of significant repair.
All right, so basically this lot supported one house in the past.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I can attest to that. It was that one house was destroyed by fire.
So the planning board has not endorsed this plan that's in front of us. Is that correct?
That is correct. I don't believe, we didn't present it to them. We came to you seeking the variance.
Okay, so you're asking us to subdivide this property into 3 separate lots?
No, we're not seeking a subdivision. We're seeking a variance to allow it's basically a 3-family condominium association on this one single lot.
So you're looking for 3 houses on one lot?
Correct.
3 dwellings on one single lot?
Correct. Under a condominium association. Meaning they'll all have the common areas defined and, their specific areas defined all by deed.
And this proposed condo association will be responsible for that maintaining of the road, plowing it and everything else?
Correct. The roadway, plowing, utilities, maintenance, all of that.
What would the width of the roadway be?
We had a 24-foot wide driveway shown.
Okay, so the road going in is technically a driveway and it's 24 feet wide.
Correct.
And that driveway is what would constitute the roadway that would service the 3 buildings.
Correct.
Okay, any questions from the board members?
What common areas are you proposing for the 3 condominiums? I don't quite understand. Could you explain what the common areas are?
Right, so the driveway would be common use, and there's the large substantial open space down to the back we have shown as for common area. And then each unit has exclusive use for like their private driveway to their garage and a yard around their house. But then, substantial with the open space common area to the rear of the property, and then the paved driveway.
Mhm. All which is maintained again by the condominium association?
Correct, yes.
So those dashed lines that we see between the buildings, they define the extent for each one of those units.
Right, the purpose of those dashed lines is to give each unit an exclusive use yard. So it continues down to basically where their driveway intersects with the roadway, which is considered common. It gives them their own private drive or exclusive use driveway leading to their home and or garage, and it gives them a yard surrounding their house. And then each has a walkway that allow through the roadway. There could be a walking path to go down to the substantial open space to the rear.
Will the properties be fenced?
I think that's a level of detail we haven't thought out yet. I think it would be where it's exclusive use. If each individual homeowner wanted that, that certainly would be something that would be available to them.
I see.
Board all set? Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. I'm going to open it up now to anyone that wants to speak in favor. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor?
Can anyone from the public speak on the topic to ask a question?
Certainly.
Only if it's in favor, Mr.
Just
Chair.
if you're in favor right now.
Mr. Chair, I don't see anyone with the hand raised in favor.
Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition?
Yeah.
Paul Brathwaite would like to speak in opposition.
Thank you. So, hello, everybody. My name is Jamal Brathwaite, and I'm a resident of an abutting property. I would like to welcome the applicant to the neighborhood and to share two neighborhood concerns. Number one, as an outcome of the planning board meeting on November 4th, 2020, the planning board voted for a motion that requires the applicant be required to pay for a structural analysis study of Armstrong Street. To the applicant, what is the timeline of when this is expected to be completed, and will this report be available for abutters to review? Can the ZBA please honor this requirement prior to any approval? That's topic number one. Topic number two is, does the applicant have a stormwater management plan that will include catch basins and detention ponds? If not, where do you plan for the stormwater to flow to? And what is your stormwater management plan?
Okay, is there any answer to a question on the stormwater?
Yes, so as part of the planning process, we had shown a series of catch basins leading down to a detention pond. The intent, if it was allowed to go forward, we understand that we would need to provide drainage. The way the lot slopes, it would not shed anything toward Armiston or any of the neighbors. It sheds back to that wetland that's in the rear of the property.
So I'm sorry, so you're saying that the water would flow east? Is that what you're referencing, east, or are you referencing south?
East.
East, okay, all right. So, at the moment, there's no plans for a catch basin and no plans for detention pond. We just expect it will flow east.
Well, what I tried to convey is that through the planning process, when we were proposing the subdivision, we had a series of catch basins leading to a detention pond. The applicant is trying to see what they're going to be allowed to do with this property. So they are proposing this with the understanding that going forward, it's probably going to need conservation approvals as well, and that they are going to have to meet stormwater management. So I believe they intend, or we will be designing catch basins leading back to that back area for a detention pond. Just, they haven't proposed that as of yet because we're not sure what approvals or what they're going to be allowed to build. They each, as I outlined, you know, we've gone through a lot of iterations on what we tried to do here, and to keep spending money after money after money on different design features before we know what we're going to be allowed to do. We're not at that point right now.
Okay, so I guess just my only last question is pertaining to question number 1. Will the applicant still be required to pay for a structural analysis study of Armstrong Street? I guess that's a question for the ZBA board.
That will not come under our decision.
Would the ZBA board honor what the planning board's requiring?
That would be a requirement of the planning board if they want to do that, but that's not us. That's not our determination.
Okay, and just lastly, Mr. Hardy, with these properties, will they have a basement?
Yeah, I believe they, I'm trying to look here on the submittal plans. I mean, yeah, they'd have a full foundation and a, you know, an unfinished basement is what was submitted in the application materials.
Okay, well, it's recommended from a resident point of view that these properties, when they're built, if they do have a basement, that it's taken into consideration that they have an external French drainage system that's as required by the Massachusetts building code, and oftentimes it's not applied in practice. And secondly, is that these basements should have a sub pump system, because stormwater accumulation in basements and roadways are a very common issue in this neighborhood as well as rest of Brockton, but definitely in this neighborhood.
Jamal, we appreciate your comment on that, but truly that is up to the decision of the builder of the house, how he wants to handle that situation. It's good information to know that there may be a water problem there, but that final decision of whether some pumps or anything else goes in, that's not for us right now. I personally would like to have seen something here on drainage, how the water comes down the end of Armistead Street, where it's going to go. But that's beside the point. All right, Jamal, thank you very much. Is there anyone else that wants to speak in opposition?
Mr. Chair, we have Elizabeth Lasso that would like to speak.
Okay.
Ms. Lasso?
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. What's your address?
I am at 99 Armiston Street.
I
am on Armiston Street, so I am one of the homeowners who has some very serious concerns about what is to happen. As Jamal had stated in his conversation, at the last meeting that we had with the planning board, the developer had agreed with his then attorney, James Burke, that they would have a structural integrity test done on the street, seeing that there has been so much destruction to my street that has been done so far by the building on Heritage Court, which that developer is using Armiston Street as a pass-through to get to their development site when there's supposed to be a gate up. That gate was actually approved by the zoning and the planning board, and yet has been down for some time now, and nobody from the city of Brockton will make them put it back up again. I've been in several meetings with several of you where you said that, yes, that gate should be back up, and yet it still is not. So
let's pertain our questions to this development that's before us.
Well, because my street's already been destroyed by the trucks from the Heritage Court development. I don't need my street to be destructed anymore by development trucks for Armiston Street. I don't care if they're building 3 houses or 6 houses. The fact is that 3 months ago, we had to have the gas company come in and repair a break of the gas line on my street because my street is not structurally sound to hold these construction vehicles. At the last meeting, which was noted on a recorded thing, Zoom meeting, recorded on the YouTube, and Jack Lally witnessed it. So did an attorney, James Burke, who was the attorney for the developer at the time, who is since now not the attorney any longer, said that they would do the structural integrity test. They said that they would do it. They haven't done it. So my question is when is anyone in this city going to actually uphold their commitment to the constituents and to the members of this city who already live here and pay taxes to actually uphold and do anything to represent them? So my question is, why are they applying to have a condo association versus a homeowners association in a development where they're asking to build 3 separate homes and not a condominium unit, which would be one building with 3 condos in it? They're looking to build 3 homes and use it as a condominium association. I would like to have that question answered, please.
That's what they are proposing to us. So what we have to look
They're
at.
building 3 buildings. It's not a condo association. A condo means that the dwellings all apply within the same building. These are not in the same building, except for, here's the thing. I've not received a plan. Nobody showed me any documents about what their proposed plan was, but yet every time there's ever been a development in my neighborhood, which I abut within 300 feet of, I've received a plan. Why didn't I receive a plan?
Okay, so you're telling us that you did not receive information tonight at the public hearing?
I received this about a public hearing. I've not received any plans, any documentation, any building site plans or anything. Nothing.
Okay, so what?
And I'm sorry if you hear my frustration, my voice, but I'm sorry. You've been here with me before.
I hear your frustration, ma'am.
No. You have no idea. We still have construction trucks coming and going from the Heritage Court site, which the planning board just released 8 lots at once for a site that's out of compliance. They were cited by the Environmental Protection Agency for being out of compliance. They're still not in compliance. They still never put the gate up. They haven't done one thing to try to get in compliance. And during that planning board meeting, Pam Gurley says, well, we tried to reach out to them, but they didn't answer, but we have their money, only $60,000. So let's release their lots. So they released their lots. That guy's going to make millions of dollars. Do you think $60,000 means anything to that man? That's a drop in the bucket. That's a drop in the hat. So who's going to say that this is going to actually go right and not like interfere with my neighborhood and my peacefulness living here and destroy my street even worse?
Okay,
what are you people going to do to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
We've heard your concerns. We've taken those into consideration. We are looking tonight at what is before us. We are not looking tonight at all of the other issues that you have brought up.
Well, this brings them all into concern.
I understand.
I'm sorry, sir, but this brings everything into concern because everything that's been done in this neighborhood and in the city has been so corrupt and out of compliance, should be illegal. So hopefully you all take that into consideration tonight before you make your decision on whether you allow this zoning appeal to be admitted or permitted.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Is there anyone else that wants to speak in opposition?
I see no other, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected officials that want to be heard on this issue?
Well, we asked Jack Lally to be here, but he didn't. Excuse me. I would just like to add.
Hold on, ma'am. Ma'am, you had your opportunity to speak. That position is closed at this point. Mr. Clerk?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Are there any public officials that want to speak on the issue?
I see none, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing, and I'm now going to open it up for deliberations by the board. Board members.
The size and shape of the property is a relevant hardship. However, it is uncommon that to me that the condominium would be three separate buildings. And as I said, the planning board has not approved this as yet. So these are concerns. That's a concern of mine.
One of the concerns I have on this project is the width of the roadway, the 24-foot roadway. If there are any vehicles that are parked on this road at all, it's going to be difficult to get in and out of this property. And the other thing that I've noticed is if we plow snow down the street, where the last the driveway runs right into the street, I really don't know where you could have any snow storage on this thing, the end of the street.
I can speak to the style of ownership, condominium ownership. Style is an ownership style.
This deliberation is just for the board. So board members, any comments on what we heard here tonight?
So, Mr. Chair, that opening, that gated opening, is that is the width of the driveway? It's a very small opening. It's wider than that.
What she was referring to is a conversation relative to a gate on Parkview Lane at Street. That would be the driveway or the street that's opposite where this driveway is for this proposed development. See the word Parkview Lane?
Yeah. There was interference. Someone was speaking at the same time that you were speaking. As I couldn't hear.
Right, the discussion on the gate is relative to Parkview Lane, which really has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight. But the gate that she was referring to would go across Parkview Lane at Armiston Street. The driveway, which has access to what we're looking at tonight, is actually across the street. There would be no gate there. No gate proposed, I see.
Okay.
So this is a unique proposal. It's been before planning. Planning has had some problems with it. I'm disappointed that we're not seeing where this water that's going to come down Armiston Street is going to end up. Armiston Street pitches rather drastically easterly down where this driveway goes in. And
right.
I just don't want to see flooding down the end of that street or into the driveway or down Parkview Lane. I understand what they're trying to do here is kind of feel out, I guess, the boards and commissions in the city to see what could be developed in here. But obviously, a single house that's in here now could be placed in there without any zoning board approval, no nothing. So they're probably they're trying to make the best use of the property, and the latest one that they're proposing is this condominium. So that's what we're looking at tonight to see if that would be the best use of this property. My concern is that 24-foot driveway, which constitutes really a street for those three buildings, and even fire apparatus and other vehicles to get in there, delivery trucks. There's no cul-de-sac at the end. There's no place to turn around. Any vehicle that goes in there is going to be turning in somebody's driveway. So those are just some of the concerns I have.
Mr. Chairman, is it appropriate if I speak to that? There's Sean Hardy, the engineer.
No, really, I'm sorry, but we've closed that part of the hearing.
No, I understand.
Yeah, so you had your opportunity to tell us what you thought, and now this portion right here is for the board to kind of decide what we heard, you know? So, anybody want to make a motion, or where do we want to go with it?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion on the floor from Chief Williams.
I didn't catch that. Somebody making a motion to approve?
Correct, Chief Williams.
Okay, yeah. Anybody second that?
On the motion, to Chief Williams, is the question to the person who made the motion, Chief Williams, is it appropriate space for fire apparatus to get to the locations the way the plan is set up?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't
Okay.
think that the distance to the furthest building is a problem for us. I know there's.
Okay, wouldn't it? Okay. And Chief Williams, is the motion to grant to the hopes or a straight out motion?
Yep, just a straight motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Lannis,
No.
Mr. Bernard,
Yes.
Chief Williams,
Yes.
Chairman Gallagher.
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 3 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative.
3 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative. The petition is denied. All right, the next petition, 2147, I should say, has been withdrawn. That is the 55 Westgate Drive. 2148, the petition of KG Collective, Brockton LLC, 1536 Tremont Street, Boston, Mass. For a special permit for marijuana retail use and allow joint restaurant marijuana retail sales and variance for adjacent parking and affiliated entities in a C2 zone located at 9, 12, and 0 Crescent Street. All right, is the petitioner ready?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Scott Rubin from Silverstein and Creedon in Brockton on behalf of the applicant, KG Collective Brockton LLC. I have with us tonight Scott Farrier, who from JK Holmgren Engineering, who in a few minutes is going to go through the improvements and the update to the plan that we worked very hard on after discussions and meetings with the initially with the planning board. Michael Pyres, who is one of the owners, is also with us tonight. Michael, I don't know if is there another owner that's with us as well?
Yes, Marcus Johnson Smith is the other co-owner. He's on us with us tonight as well.
All right, and the landlord is also with us here tonight, obviously in support of this application. I did want to just briefly mention at the outset that the variance for the adjacent parking is not necessary, Mr. Chairman. The entities, really the LLC and the trust that own the properties together, essentially were owned by the same people, but under a different types of business structure. And I provided the board with a copy of a recorded deed that merged those two lots into the same ownership, which was done on May 7th of 2021. I provided that to the board through Ms. Brophy. And so we will not need that variance at this time. In addition, I'm sorry?
We received that.
Okay, great. So I just want to make sure that's the case. Also, it's not necessarily clear that we really need a special permit for the joint use. A previous application for a special permit for the landlord was approved by this board back in March of 2007, when at the time the restaurant and an office use was approved. At that time, I think office use and restaurant use, not necessarily the same zone. in this particular instance, really out of an abundance of caution, Mr. Chairman, I did include this joint use under this special permit. However, this use is retail and it is a C2 zone, and believe that it is essentially as of right, except for the fact that we need a special permit for the marijuana use. So I included it just to be sure that we captured everything that we might need, knowing that the prior special permit was in fact issued for a joint use. So I'm not really sure we need it, but we believe we qualified for that as well, Mr. Chairman. So by way of short history, this applicant was before the board previously. And at the time, the application was, I guess, according to this board, deficient in a number of areas. This was back in July of 2020. The applicant did go back to the planning board back in October with a revised plan that was done by Mr. James McGrath. And based on the updated plan, the planning board recommended that the applicant have the opportunity to come back before the zoning board with the improvements. In addition to that plan that was done by Mr. McGrath, the applicant hired myself and Scott Faria, and we met at the site, and we think that we came up with an even better plan than even what was approved by the planning board in order to generate the materials to come back before you. And again, I'm going to leave that for Scott Faria to go through the improvements on that plan. But I will make sure that the board is aware that this applicant has currently now a updated and signed new host community agreement, which I also provided to the board, which was just signed by the mayor and by my client this past month, so May of 2021. So the city obviously is in support. The mayor, by way of updating that HCA agreement to the applicant, was in favor of this applicant. It is 100% minority owned, proposed economic empowerment application. It's one of the final entities that I'm aware of that has a host community agreement, but has not made it through all the process at this point. We still do have to go back if we are able to get past this approval. We still have to go back to the planning board for site plan review, which we hope we can get to. Again, this is a combined restaurant and retail use, and there will be no combined access proposed for this location. So some of the things I just wanted to address again that were issues with the original hearing, Mr. Chairman, was that the host community agreement hasn't been provided. That was provided, as well as the update. A context map allegedly was not provided originally. That obviously has been updated and provided. A security plan, which I've represented several marijuana establishments before this board. It really wasn't anything that the board really spent a lot of time concentrating on, but nonetheless, it was noted as a lack of had been provided. A security plan has been provided. We also did update the parking plan. So one of the comments had to do with a 10-foot setback from the existing structure at 920 Crescent Street. And you'll note on the plan that we have in fact moved our parking structure further away from 920 Crescent Street so that we no longer need a variance for that particular area. We provided some landscaping in that spot. So that was one of the issues. We also have a dedicated delivery spot for deliveries in the rear, and we have updated some green space. So with that, I'm gonna let Scott go through hope I didn't steal too much of your thunder, Scott. Let him go through the improvements on the plan that we think benefit the neighborhood.
Thank you, Attorney Rubin. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As Attorney Rubin said, we started on this job a few months ago with Mr. Pyries, and he gave us all of the information from the different city agencies that he had been to previously. And at my office, we looked at tonight and tried to address each and every one of the items that you brought up and that you had questions or issues with. The biggest thing we looked at was getting cars in and out of the site in a safe and realistic way. So the site currently has two curb cuts on Crescent Street. So we kept those two curb cuts, although we have now we've got to propose as a one-way entrance in the first curb cut closest to Hope Street, and then a one-way exit closer to Hall Street. So the traffic pattern will run in a clockwise manner, one-way traffic heading up off of Crescent Street. It'll fork off to the left through the existing drive-through for the restaurant, and then fork off to the right for the cars to continue parking that will be looking to park on site. And then the cars will exit on that one-way travel way. It's an 18-foot wide travel way, so it's plenty big for that one-way traffic. The other thing we did, as Attorney Rubin said, we looked at that issue in the zoning bylaw that says the parking has to be 10 feet away from a abutting dwelling. So we moved the parking over. We're now 13 feet from our proposed edge of pavement to the building. And in doing that, again, we created that one-way traffic lane to 18 feet in order to get that buffer that we're looking at to the residential property. We've also proposed a 6-foot stockade fence around the rear and the right side of the property, abutting the existing residential properties. The other issue was the green space. We've really increased the green space from the previous proposal. We eliminated all of the parking that off of Hope Street and backed out onto Hope Street. That's been entirely eliminated, and that paving will be replaced with green space. And we also added some green space within the existing parking area. Right now, it's pretty much all paving. So we've got a few green areas in that existing parking area to break it up a little bit. So those are really the biggest changes we made, Mr. Chairman. Was that was sufficient previously. As you remember, there was some angled spaces, some parallel spaces, some perpendicular spaces.
You're cutting out.
I'm sorry?
Speak in, you're cutting out.
Sorry.
Mr. Chair, Scott, that's Mr. Bernard's phone conversation here.
Oh,
thank you. So we did eliminate all of those angled spaces, the parallel spaces. Everything is much more conventional, perpendicular spaces, plenty of width on the travelway. So we feel like we've got a much more efficient, safe parking layout and access and egress, Mr. Chairman. I think with that, I'll turn it back to Attorney Rubin and be happy to answer any questions.
yeah, thank you, Scott. Most importantly, the reconfiguration of that exit where there were angle spaces now really make the parking more perpendicular to the street and reconfigure that opening to a 60-foot opening, Mr. Chairman. And I think that provides a better really a better pattern flow. Also, I just want to point out, just for added protection, it's noted in the plan that we were going to reserve spaces closest to the 920 Crescent Street structure as employee parking only. And therefore, we're going to reduce the traffic in that particular area. Granted, we're proposing the 6-foot stockade fence, which would provide a further screening from that location, but we felt that using that as dedicated employee spacing would reduce the amount of on and off in that particular area, which would be closest to that abutting structure, Mr. Chairman. So that we hope and expect that would ease up any kind of concerns. Secondly, aesthetically, this property, certainly the way it's proposed with the elevation plans that were provided by the architect, is certainly consistent with the commercial zone in this particular area. The traffic study that was previously provided, which I know is really not necessarily part of this particular purview of this board, showed very minimal impact on traffic in the particular area, but it is accessible by a bat bus. There's plenty of parking on site. We've actually created 27 spaces with a loading space as well, which makes 28 spaces. We're not looking for any variances of any kind for the proposed small square off of the addition that's necessary to make this project work. In addition, we have provided the board with several pages of localized support that the applicant was able, that Michael was able to generate, several of which are in the neighborhood as well. And I will point out some of the comments that we did get that I received through Michael, is that this particular area, they're hoping that we can get, quite frankly, the drug transactions from this, move them from the street to the business. There's obviously still, even with the current situation with several open marijuana facilities in the city, there's still a black market out there for drug transactions, and having this in this adjacent to this residential area, we think will be a benefit to that, and that will give customers and members of the public obviously an alternate option to go into the store and generate the tax revenue that we think that the city needs. I can tell you from my personal experience, I've represented again 3 or 4 different locations, 2 of which are already open. And I can tell you from my personal experience, just observing and being in the businesses and around, that the, I guess, the fanfare when this really started back in 2018, Mr. Chairman, there was a concern that there would be these long lines. People would be traveling from great distances and queuing up on the streets and on the sidewalks. And that really hasn't really been borne out at all by the experience, considering that there are several places open already, that the transactions are relatively short. They're under 10 minutes each, and that the traffic count is consistent with what we expect. There's really been no security issues whatsoever. And I'm not even sure there's been an incident among the ones that, at least that I've represented, that are now open, have been open for a little bit. So we think that this is a petition that the board should support, and that Michael is an entrepreneur and is, I think, well healed to be able to carry on this this proposal, and that the city would be proud of.
Okay, thank you. Board members, any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I would make a comment. I think that was a very good presentation, and it answered most of the questions that we had been concerned in previous hearings. So thank you very much for the update.
I just want to make a couple of comments also. I had some serious reservations with this last time around, and eliminating that parking on Hope Street was absolutely necessary. That should be green space. That parking should have never been there in the first place. I would also make a suggestion that on the one way that comes around behind the building, that the petitioner put a sign at the end of that driveway that basically says exit to Route 27 Crescent Street with an arrow. So anybody that's exiting that back driveway will not take a right out into the neighborhoods. They would take a left out to Crescent Street.
Okay.
Okay. So the problems that we had the last time was the parking over there was a free-for-all. Now you've got it laid out, so there's a pattern where you come in and there's a pattern where you go out.
Yes.
One comment that I want to make, and this is not a deal breaker by any means, but the 18-foot difference between the front bumper and the back bumper of the cars on the right-hand side. I'm going to throw this question out to the engineer. If I was coming in the entrance to the left, and I went up to the top and took a right and headed back towards Crescent Street, wouldn't it make better sense if it was angle parking instead of trying to square away to get into an 18-foot opening? In other words, when you make that turn and you're coming down, you could very easily go into an angle spot. When you back out, that 18 feet really becomes sufficient. If you're trying to back into a square spot, that 18 feet is very tight. I'm just asking a question. What do you think on that?
It's, yeah, I think as a surveyor, I like nice square 90-degree angles. But I think you're probably right. I think those spaces, it would help the flow of traffic, I think, if we change those to angle spaces. It wouldn't affect the parking count or the size of the spaces.
I don't think it would either, and it would also deter anybody trying to come in the outlet, because once you get in there, you can't park.
Right, I agree. We can certainly make that change in the site plan portion, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I'll bring it up to the board when we talk about it, but I was just curious if that would have a negative effect on what you've done there. It could almost be like parking on Legion Parkway when you come down the hill, how easy it is just to pull in and back out. You know?
Agreed.
Yeah.
And Mr. Silverstein's office knows all about that.
Yes.
So I had real serious concerns about this the last time, and the loading space is good. The traffic pattern, I think, could be cleaned up just a little bit. I'm kind of leaning towards angle parking. That's only my personal opinion. That's all it is. And putting green space out on Hope Street to eliminate that parking that never should have been there in the first place.
Agreed.
And it seems as though all the other requirements that are required for this have been met. So. Board members, any questions?
No.
The fence that you're talking about, that will go along the east property line up against the multifamily house?
Yes, sir.
And what goes across the back? The same thing?
The same thing, sir. Yep.
Okay, so two sides of the fence.
Exactly.
All right, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing, open it up for public discussion. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor?
In favor.
I see none, Mr. Chair.
I'm at 100 Walford Street. I'm in favor of it.
Okay, just give your name to the clerk, please.
Jerry Bernardo.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else that wants to speak in favor?
Mr. Chair, I have a question for that. He said 100 Wellsford Street. Isn't Wellsford Street
Wellsford Street.
off of Pleasant?
No, that is off of Bourne.
Off of Bourne, off of Winter.
Thank you.
Anyone else, Mr. Clerk?
I see none, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I have some emails that were sent to me through the zoning office for people that are in favor. And I'm not going to read them all, but there's quite a list here of people from all over the place that are in favor of this petition. And let me just check one more. I'll tell you what is difficult is when people start sending us information 1 hour before the meeting starts. I appreciate the concern that people have, but truly, it's very difficult to grasp all that information on such short notice. So I will just say that we have had quite a number of people who have signed a petition in favor of granting this petition. All right, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition?
I see none, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we'll close that portion of the hearing, and I will just comment that late this afternoon, I did receive 3 people from Hope Street, direct neighbors that spoke in favor. All right, is there any elected official that wants to speak on the issue?
Councilor Thompson would.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jeffrey Thompson, Ward 5 City Councilor. I just want to inform the board that no one has reached out in opposition to me regarding this petition. I have met with Mr. Pyries in the past. He seems like he'll be able to run a fine establishment out of this building, and I have no opposition to the petition. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other elected official?
I see none, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. I'm going to open it now for discussion among the board members. Board members. I will just make a comment. You heard what I said to Mr. Farrier about the parking layout in the parking lot, or possibly putting those on an angle rather than 90 degrees. That's just a thought that I had. And if the board has no problem with that, I wouldn't have a problem with him carrying that back to the planning board. And if they want to do an angle, I honestly don't think that would affect my decision on the parking in this lot. So I'll throw that thought out to the board. Anybody want to comment on that?
I think it was a good addition. Well thought out.
So we would have no opposition if they wanted to change that to an angle parking rather than square.
That's correct.
Yeah. Any other comments among board members? I think they've met all the requirements that were required of everybody else. And it is what it is.
I make a motion to grant a special permit for marijuana retail use and allow joint restaurant marijuana retail sales.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Lannis,
Yes.
Mr. Bernard,
Yes.
Chief Williams,
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
The vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition is granted.
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Good luck. The next petition, 2149, the petition of Legal Greens, care of Vanessa Jean Baptiste, 71 Legion Parkway, Brockton, Mass. For variance and special permit to operate a marijuana cultivation facility to support their adjacent retail establishment within the C2, C3 zone districts and within 100 feet of a residential in a C2 and C3 zone located at 93 Pleasant Street. Is the petitioner ready?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am.
Please identify yourself.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Richard Stady. I am the attorney for the petitioner Legal Greens. With me this evening is Nicole Dunphy of High Point Engineering, and also Mark and Vanessa from Legal Greens LLC. They are the principal directors of that company. Their company is a Brockton-based company, as you know, located at 71 Legion Parkway, and the parcel in question is at 93 Pleasant Street. Very quickly, I know you've had a long night. I will reference for the record my written memorandum which will support this petition, but I thought I would quickly highlight some of the key points, Mr. Chairman, with your permission.
Go ahead.
The property is zoned C2, C3. It's owned by Mr. Fred Fontaine, a Brockton city resident, and currently we're in a lease agreement to lease a portion of the building on the site. As noted, we submitted the memo, context map, site plans, elevations, and other relevant materials, which I'll allow Nicole to take you through after I'm finished. At one time, the property was actually operated and owned by U.S. Rubber and Matting. It was used for the manufacture and storage of rubber mats. Our information leads us to believe that that stopped on or about 2017 or so. That was when Mr. Fontaine took ownership of the property. And us, in a way, we lost the ability to petition for an extension of a non-conforming use since that was stopped about 4 years ago. Currently, the building is used for storage of materials, but there's no manufacturing at that site, although again, it was used at one time. As such, since it's zoned C2 and C3, and since the Brockton City Ordinance allows cultivation as of right in an industrial area, we are seeking a variance for use. And we're also seeking relief from a special permit requirement as to relationship to residential dwellings. Specifically, we need relief from Ordinance 27-24.43A and for the use, and 27.24.43B for the proximity of the residential dwellings in the location. I will skip down really quickly and talk about some of the arguments in favor of granting this petition. Essentially, there is quickly a unique position that can be made about the shape of the lot, and the soil is what's called urban fill. That's certainly not good soil there at the lot. There would be a hardship if we're not able to get the variance on both the owner, Mr. Fontaine, and on the petitioners, my clients, Legal Greens. They've been looking very hard to get a suitable location in the city of Brockton. It's frankly very difficult to find a proper site for cultivation. They actually had an option to buy a property at Freight Street, and they came close to purchasing that. And then what happened was they were told the city had other designs for that property as part of an overlay urban renewal project. So that property fell apart. So they've been looking very hard to kind of couple up on their retail business. And this is a good site. This is a good site for this particular thing that we're trying to do here. I will remind you respectfully that Legal Greens is an economic empowerment candidate, which does carry with it the endorsement, if you will, of the Cannabis Commission and the state to help minority owners succeed. And certainly having a cultivation growing facility in conjunction with the now newly operated retail marijuana dispensary will go a long way in making them succeed. As far as the benefits, clearly there are several benefits in granting this petition and giving us the relief, notwithstanding the additional jobs that will come into the city, and of course the revenue that the city of Brockton will generate by the host agreement, newly executed with the new mayor, Robert Sullivan, just a couple of weeks ago. We certainly will be able to do other things as well as far as improving the site. The building, which is in need of repair, will be cosmetically improved. We have elevations to show you that. And obviously there will also be an improvement in terms of landscaping. And most notable, I don't want to steal Nicole's thunder, but we're preparing an improved drainage to the site, which obviously is a benefit as well. It doesn't really, in terms of granting the variance, as we've seen tonight and in other cases, the board has the right to grant the variance for use and other kind of things. And in particular, in this particular area, in direct proximity to our building, at one time there was a structure that was used as an office, and it was granted a variance to made into a residential use. That is now a two-family directly abutting our property at 93 Pleasant. So it's basically not a derogation of the bylaw to grant the relief for the benefit of, as we said, the city, for the landlord, and for our clients. In addition, the petitioner has to also satisfy other requirements of special permit, some of which will be attended to when we go before the planning board and tech review, which we intend to do next. But in general, there will be an improvement to lighting. We demonstrate sufficient parking, a loading bay is shown. As I noted, there is increased drainage. And also one concern that is always a concern of a facility like this is odor. And we're going to employ the best state-of-the-art system as required and beyond that to make sure there is no odor as a cause of nuisance. Essentially, of the building that is currently there, as I said, is an existing building, we plan to use about 5,500 square feet of that building for the grow and cultivation, and it's an important component for our petitioners to succeed. After many years of hard work, many years of meetings, and great cooperation with the city of Brockton, Legal Greens was able to open their doors, and from what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, it's a great facility. It's getting high reviews. It's well run, it's well managed, and well operated. This will be an important addition to them to provide the product that they need to sell to enable them to continue to work and to operate and succeed as a minority company and in the facility in the city of Brockton. So with that, Mr. Chairman, if I may, could I introduce Nicole Dunphy, the engineer?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Nicole Dunphy, Senior Project Manager with High Point Engineering. I didn't know if if I could share my screen, I did prepare some presentation material, if that's allowed.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Oh, it says I'm disabled to participate in screen sharing. I don't know. Okay. There we go. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. What I'm starting off here is just to show you some pictures of the existing property. This is Hereford Street. This is the existing chain link fence, which encloses an existing gravel parking lot that was used off of Hereford Street. There are two existing curb cuts that are 20 feet wide that went to an existing loading dock for the US rubber and mats operation. We submitted a context plan. As you can see, the property will be located here. This corner lot you see here is the existing retail facility that's operated by Legal Greens currently. Based on, as Richard had said, their struggles looking for another property and the inability to go forward with the property on Freight Street. This property makes sense with the close proximity to the existing retail facility to be able to support that function. And as you can see, there's two schools, both are well outside the 500-foot radius and outside of, the jurisdiction of this area. So what I'm presenting to you is a color version of the plan that was submitted. The applicant is proposing to occupy the east portion of the building, the first floor. They'll do interior renovations and facade improvements, maintaining the existing footprint of the building. Their use will be in the brown shaded area. We're proposing to pave approximately 3,000 square feet of an existing gravel parking lot to provide a hard service parking lot. This is per discussions we've had previously with the city engineer. We'll maintain two 20-foot wide curb cuts off of Hereford Street. There's an 8-foot wide existing chain link fence that surrounds this parking lot to the north, east, and south. That fence will be maintained as long as two swing gates at each curb cut. Sections of the fence that are in disrepair will be upgraded and improved as part of the project. As Attorney Stady had mentioned, this project, the site is divided by two zones. The C2 zone to the west and the C3 zone to the east. The zone line actually runs through the building right approximately here. The majority of our proposal takes place within the C3 zone, which does not regulate open space. But because the property is bisected, we're meeting the zoning requirements for both C2 and C3. C2 requires a 10% minimum open space. By doing that, we're creating a 9-foot wide landscaped island here between the existing curb cuts, some lawn areas and plantings around the main employee entrance to the building, a 5-foot wide landscaped area with shrubs along the building, and a surface bioretention area, which is designed to collect stormwater runoff from the new paved portion of the parking lot and promote recharge and water quality. What you don't see on this plan, but was submitted to you previously, is we're also providing to do underground infiltration. Runoff from the cultivation portion of the roof will be directly discharged underground and recharged to meet the requirements of both the state and the city. This project will be open to employees only. Again, the C3 zone, I believe, does not have a parking requirement, but the C2 zone requires 1 space per 5 employees per maximum shift for a general manufacturing industrial use. Therefore, working with Mark and Vanessa from Legal Greens, we determined it would be 10 employees per maximum shift, which would require 2 parking spaces. We are providing a total of 4 parking spaces, 1 of which will be a van accessible handicap space. You will have a handicap accessible access for pedestrian off of the parking lot, as well as staired entrances. In addition to the site improvements you see here, we're also proposing to improve the site lighting. We're proposing to install new wall packs along the north, east, and south side of the building for a total of 6 wall packs to illuminate the area dedicated to the cultivation use. And we're also proposing an 18-foot tall light pole within this landscaped area. We're also proposing a exterior dumpster pad that'll be screened by an 8-foot high white vinyl fence. So it'll be screened from view, and it'll be located in this area adjacent to the stripe designated loading area. This is a architectural rendering of some of the improvements that we can see with the landscaping fixtures, the new exterior improvements to the building. This is a floor plan which was previously submitted, as well as some elevations. Significant number of these smaller windows that exist on the building today will be infilled with brick facade. And then the windows to remain will be frosted so that there's no view to the interior operations from the street or the surrounding neighborhood. We did run a turning study using the fire department largest apparatus to show how the maneuverability would work for the fire department. And there were no issues. The tires of the apparatus will stay on the pavement at all time when entering in and out of the facility. Lastly, I just wanted to show you some before and after pictures to show you what we're proposing for improvements. This is 73 Pleasant Street, the property of the existing retail facility that's in front of our proposal. These are some of the existing photos of the building, and these are some of the improvements just to show you, some of the nice landscaping features that we propose to continue to the property behind us and kind of clean up this entire area. So based on that, that's kind of an overview of, actually the last thing I would say are our existing utilities. We're proposing to reuse the existing utility services to the building, which serve the building off of Pleasant Street. And studies will be conducted if required to determine the capacity of these utilities, and improvements will be made if necessary. That's basically a general overview of the property. As a rundown, we're going to improve the open space, improve control of stormwater management, and bring some life to a building that has been underutilized for a significant number of years. With that said, I will back to you, Mr. Chairman, and I am available for any questions.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, before we wrap up, with your permission, I should have mentioned that 2 things very important for our purpose tonight. We had a community planning event, community hearing. Actually, we've had 2 of them. And the most recent one was held last Friday, and there was no one that showed up to oppose our petition at that time. And in addition, we've had widespread support. I'm not sure if perhaps the emails got crossed up, but did submit about a couple of hours ago, so I apologize for that lateness. Maybe I'm the one you're mad at. But we submitted a petition with about 150 signatures of people in support of our petition. In addition, I know that a couple of city councilors who could not attend this evening may have submitted letters. Perhaps you got them for the record. I hope you did. I know I spoke to The city councilor this is his area, Councilman Monahan, was not able to attend, but he fully supports this proposal and is fully in support of our efforts. He feels it will be a great improvement to this area. I know Mr. Monahan apologized for not able to make it, but he fully supports this. And there may be others as well that may want to weigh in. But we do have support from the neighborhood, from the city, from obviously the mayor's office in giving us the most recent host agreement. We had another one before that, which is valid, but now we have the most recent one from Mayor Sullivan. So we do have good support and we feel good about this project moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from any of the board members? I noticed in your discourse here that you anticipate using the two-story portion of the commercial building for potential future expansion.
If required, at this point, there's no plan in place to actually go forward with the use of a future expansion. If that's something that would be required, they would have to go back to the city for approval.
That's correct.
Did mention it,
Sorry?
I'm sorry?
Hello?
proposed signage for the new building?
Yes, we are proposing identifying signage for the building. It's not
Will that be on Pleasant?
unpleasant. I believe it will be on the, there'll be identifying signage on the building and then in the parking lot. I'm not sure if we'll have any on Pleasant Street.
No, we don't plan on having signage on Pleasant Street. It would be very minimal on Hereford Street, but it's not needed.
You're going to have to speak up louder. We cannot hear you.
I'm sorry. I said we would not have any signage on Pleasant Street. It would, if we did have anything, it'd be on Hereford Street, and we don't plan on having a sign on the cultivation. It's not needed.
Okay.
Minimal signage, minimal.
All right, the board all set? Going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor?
I see none, Mr. Chair.
All right, I did receive an email.
Mr. Chair, we have a Peter Lewis, his hand up.
Yes, good evening. Peter Lewis from the Shaka Companies with representing, or actually just representing Brockton RHF Partners for Hamilton Way Douglas Apartments. And I think what they have proposed is great for the neighborhood. Excuse me. I was just looking for additional information on what they were doing on security and security cameras for the upgrades.
Again, this is Nicole from High Point Engineering. We have a proposal prepared that addresses all of those concerns for security and security upgrades. It's more part of the next process, which is the tech review with the city and site plan review. But we do have a proposal in place to outlines all of those improvements.
Terrific. Thank you.
Chairman, if I may, Mr. Lewis, thank you for your comment, but that's normally something that's vetted out by tech review prior to going to planning board. I assure you, there will be a complete security system that will be put in place there. There will.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I received an email with a large number of people that were speaking in favor. I will say they came from a lot of different areas, even outside of Brockton, but they were speaking in favor. I also received a phone call from Councilor Tom Monahan, who was unable to be here tonight, and he wanted me to relay the fact that he was in favor of granting this. And we have also received a letter from Councilor Winthrop Fowler, who also is in support of granting this petition. Anyone else in favor?
I see none, Mr. Chair.
We'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here in opposition?
I see no one other than a counselor, Mr. Chair.
You see who?
I have Counselor Thompson raising his hand.
Okay. Counselor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My hand is not raised in opposition. Although this is not my ward, I've been heavily involved as a city councilor in the application process for the licensing of recreational and medical marijuana, and also the cultivation facilities. So I just wanted to weigh in here. I did speak with Councilor Monahan and Councilor Farwell regarding this petition. As stated, they are both in support. As a member of the ZBA, I voted to approve the granting of the variance for the current legal greens location at 73 Pleasant Street. As a member of the City Council, I voted to approve the recreational license for legal greens. And again, I support the variance and the special permit to operate a marijuana cultivation facility out of this building. Ms. Jean Baptiste and Mr. Bouquet have been exemplary owner-operators of their existing recreational marijuana facility. There seems to be little call for any other commercial business out of this building. And I believe a cultivation facility will bring a substantial improvement to this area, and also bring an additional revenue source to the city. So again, I am in favor of the granting of the variance and the special permit in this matter, and I hope the board votes in favor of this petition. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else? Is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition? That one was still open.
A negative, Mr. Chair. No hands are raised.
Okay, now we'll open it up for public discussion by any public officials, and we've heard from Councilor Thompson. Is there any other public officials that want to be heard?
I see no hands raised, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. I'm now going to open it up for discussion among the board members. Board members.
I agree. Their current location is a impressive establishment. I believe this project will also improve the area. So.
I'll add that I think it's progression in that area as well.
Who was that just spoke?
Jim Sweeney.
Okay, Jim, I missed you. Okay, very good, thank you. Well, if there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion. What? Who's speaking?
Please turn off your microphone if you have a speaker on, please.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead. What's your motion?
Oh, I'll make a motion to pass.
Okay, motion to grant, okay.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Before, please turn off your microphones. Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Lanus,
Yes.
Mr. Bernard. Mr. Bernard. Chief Williams,
Yes.
Chair Galligan,
No.
Mr. Bernard. Mr. Bernard. Chair, we have,
Yeah, we got to get Bernard to vote.
we're waiting for Mr. Bernard to vote. We need his vote. Mr. Bernard.
I don't understand.
Mr. Chair, without his vote, it's not going to pass.
We're going to get his vote.
One second while we try to contact him.
My phone is hello?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Bernard, what's your vote?
Yes. Do you hear me?
Okay.
We do now.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair, 4 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative.
That's close.
Well, the vote is 4 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. The petition is granted.
Never easy. Thank you. Thank you, board members. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, well, that's that.
Thank you for your
We're
time.
moving forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Full design.
Okay, now we have to go back to the very first one. On Provo Street. Do we have a petitioner here? Is there anyone here for 13 Provo Street?
Yes, right here.
Okay, we can hardly hear you.
Okay, let me put the volume up. Can you hear me better?
You're getting better.
Okay, better?
That's getting better. You put a little louder if you can, or speak closer. Okay, give us
Is
a
it better?
count. Count 1, 2, 3.
Yes, is it better?
1, 2, 3.
You were good and now we've lost you.
All right,
And we can hear you very well now. Now we lost you.
what about now? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All
Can you
right.
hear us?
You hear me? Can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am, we
Loud and
can.
clear.
Okay, very good.
All right, hold it right there now. I'm going to read the petition. Petition number 2138, petition of Milka and Josie Fanfan, 13 Provo Street, Brockton, Mass, for permission to make a single-family home into a two-family home in an R2 zone located at 13 Provo Street.
You stay on the stool.
Yes.
Okay, make your case, speak to the board, tell us what you want to do and what's going on.
Okay, you can't hear nothing.
Oh my God. One second. I will take this, she can,
Are you ready to speak?
all right. Okay, let's see. Speaker. All right.
Go right ahead, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Go right ahead.
Oh, yes, we have a single family on 13 Provo Street. We wanted to convert our home into a two-family. Did you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear, ma'am. You have to explain to us what your hardship is. What is the situation with the house? Why are you before it?
We wanted to make the house into from a single to a two-family.
We were allowed a permit to do that. We started construction. We raised the house up, but until the plumber went to get the permit, that's when they tell us the permit we have is not compliant. But the house has already been raised. All we need to do now is get the plumber in there and get the electrician so we can move forward.
Did you buy this house as a single family house?
Yes, we did.
We bought it with a single family with an in-law, yes.
And you decided that you wanted to make it into a two-family?
Yes.
Correct, yes. And we are on a two.
What did you do to make it into a two-family? Where did you go? What procedure did you follow?
We had an architect draw us a plan, and then we submitted the plan to the building department.
And then what happened?
Well, since we had, they give us, we were issued a permit to do the job. So we did the work. We raised up. We went up. We didn't go out. We just went up another story up.
I think in the application, we submitted the plans that was submitted to the building department.
Okay, so your house is a single-family house.
Right, and our neighbors, two families.
2, 3, 4.
Some units are 6.
So before anybody did anything here, somebody should have checked with the city to find out if legally you could do what you wanted to do. If it's a single family.
We requested that.
Right.
We requested that, and then and we were approved. Everything was approved for us to go up to to another story up anyway.
Yes, when we submitted it, we submitted with the plans which you have.
So you submitted the plans to who? The building department?
Correct, yes.
And the building department approved putting a second story on the house?
Yes.
Correct, yes.
All right, now was this going to be an expansion of the single family, or was it designed to be a two-family house?
It's within the footprint.
It's within the footprint of the house.
I realize that. But when you put these plans together, was it to expand the first floor into the second floor?
So to put the second floor, yes. The plan was to put the second floor.
Okay, so in retrospect, you have a home that you purchased that is a single-family home. Before you went through the work of hiring an architect or doing as much work as you've done, you should have inquired as to what the requirements were to convert this to a two-family.
Well, the first thing we did is we contacted the building department and we let them know what we wanted to do. And they said we needed to submit the permit for the work, and we did that. But they never mentioned to us about doing the zoning, the zoning part, because they told us we were in the zone that allowed two families, but they never had us go to the process of the zoning.
So how is it that you are now before us? What happened that caused you to come to zoning?
Because the reason why is when we submitted the plan, we showed everything that we did, we were going to do. And then when we were ready to do the plumbing, the plumbers went to get the plumbing permit, and they said they didn't authorize us to do, adding a
Bathroom and
kitchen and all of that stuff upstairs. But it was in the original plan that was submitted to them when we submitted that. Everything was submitted.
The plans that you've submitted to the board, are those the same plans that you submitted to the city?
Yes.
Well, I will say that I am looking at a plan here that shows the second floor, and what is on this plan is nothing like what I saw when I went there. What I
Excuse me?
saw is a complete second floor, when this one here was not what I saw. So that's just my observation.
Okay, I didn't understand what you said, sir. I'm sorry. Could you repeat?
Okay, the plans that I have in front of me that have been submitted to the
Yes.
zoning board, when I took those plans and went to the site and matched these plans up against what has been built there, they do not appear to look the same to me.
The email that I submitted, when I submitted the building permit, I verified that it is the same plan.
Okay.
Because on the email with the application, that plan was submitted.
Okay, so that you have to show a hardship to the board because it's a variance. and
Okay,
you need
what
to-
do you mean? What do you define as hardship?
Well, something related to the shape of the lot, the topography of the lot, something that's unique about your property that's different than what would be allowed for a single-family house. So your problem is the side yard setbacks, the number of parking places, the location of the parking. Nothing is in conformance with what is required by the ordinance.
Well, per the survey, it shows that we are able to put existing 4, and then we can add an additional to make 5 parking space. And that's not piggyback on the survey that was submitted to the board.
Very good.
You do not have the survey?
I do. I have a plan that's in front of me. It's dated March 27th, 2021. And it shows.
I
parking.
submitted that plan.
This is a plan that was prepared by David Terranzoni, March 27th, 2021. That's the plan that we have.
Okay, the dates you have on those plans is because when we submitted the application for the zoning, they asked us to have a survey done. So we had a survey done. But when we submitted the permit to do the addition, we only submitted the architectural work. We did not submit a survey. So as part of the requirement, when I spoke to the building department, they said we needed to show where the parkings was going to be. So we paid for the survey to be done to be sure that we are in compliance with the parking. So there's no street parking, it'll be parked in the driveway.
Okay, so I don't have the ability to walk you through this whole thing, ma'am. You are supposed to be presenting to us, so I'm trying to be as helpful as I can to you. But apparently what's happened here is you purchased a single-family house. You tried to convert this into a two-family. Now, as a two-family, you don't have sufficient side yard setback. You don't have sufficient parking.
What do you mean? Okay. I'm sorry. You said side back. What does that mean?
That's the distance between the building that you live in and your property line of the people next door. There's a whole series of rules and regulations and codes that you have to conform with. The problem is this survey has shown that you are not in compliance with any of those. So the purpose of coming before zoning is to ask for a variance because you have something that's unique about your property that we should allow you to do something that's not allowed to be done normally. That's what a variance is. Okay?
Okay.
So I can make a comment to the board here that it's apparent that the petitioner before us is not prepared to go forward with what is required to go for a variance. In the past, we have allowed, if they request, if the board votes to allow them to withdraw and come back, better prepared to come before the board. We could allow them to do that. If they want to continue tonight and go forward, that'll be their decision. So I just want that to be out on the table. Normally, once we start a meeting, we do not allow anybody to withdraw. In the past, we have had petitioners that were totally unprepared, not knowing that they were unprepared, and we allowed them to withdraw and come back at a later date. So that's an option. So I guess my question to the petitioner is, do you want to continue with the information that you have provided to the board, and we will continue the hearing? You want to continue?
I have the gentleman, Jeffrey Thomas, who had spoken to me. Because when we were confronted with this is what they asked us to provide. And that's what we went down the checklist to provide. And we were informed that everything was in accordance. We weren't aware that there was additional information we needed to provide. They said, provide your plan, provide the survey, the other items that we needed to go to City Hall to get. They did not ask us to have anything else prepared to present before you. So you're saying we are not prepared, if I understand you correctly.
Well, I'm asking you some questions relative to the requirements of a variance, and I'm concerned that you don't understand the questions that I'm asking you.
Okay, you're saying to us, if I understand, you're saying that if we go forward this evening, we will not be able to come back in front of you again?
If we continue tonight, if this was not granted, The only way you can come back before the zoning board is to come back through the planning board. You would go to the planning board, explain to them what happened tonight, and if they vote to allow you to come back to the zoning board with additional information, you could come right back to the board. Otherwise, if they vote not to do that, you cannot come back for 2 years.
Wow. So,
Sorry, Mr. Chair, if I may,
Sure.
Jeffrey Thompson, Ward 5 City Councilor. I have been in communication with Milka and Hosey Fan regarding their petition. So it looks like this is a situation where they followed the rules as what was laid out in front of them. They sought a building permit to convert their single-family home into a two-family home. They got the appropriate building permits to begin construction. They have pretty much completed construction of this two-family home now, and I believe the only holdup now is some plumbing issues that basically got stopped due to the building department now seeing the requirement of this variance. My opinion is there's an obvious hardship here. They followed the rules as was laid out. They sunk tens of thousands of dollars into their home, only to be stopped at a later point when a problem was noticed. To not allow them to go forward and to leave their home in the condition it is would be an extreme hardship to this couple. And so whether we talk about a non-conforming building becoming even more non-conforming, I don't know if that's even the case, since there is no bigger footprint of this second story. So it is no more outside the setback requirements than the original single-family home is. They're trying to basically get their paperwork in order so that they can complete their house and enjoy their home. To have them come back again to maybe better explain what their hardship is or their setback issues. I just at this point, I don't believe that's necessary. I believe as presented today, it's clear what their hardship is. And we just want to get this family in their home, built out, their construction complete, so that they and their family can enjoy a completed home. So I ask that the members of the board vote to approve this petition. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the board.
Thank you. Okay, is there anything else that you want to add to your presentation?
He mentioned it all. Like we didn't try to do anything outside the rules. This is the information that was given to us. We moved forward, and we just would like to have the ability to finish what we started, because we didn't try to step outside the rules.
The house goes up just the same frame. We didn't expand outside of the original footprint for the house. We just went up 1 story up, which is what we asked. We asked in the blueprint and the permit. That's what we asked for, and the permit was granted to us. And we were really surprised when they come in and stop the work for the plumbing, because it did show that we have kitchen and bathroom upstairs.
And the gas company, because we needed a new boiler. So when we got the new boiler installed, the gas company came in and put the pipes, and they put the approval stickers and everything on it.
Okay. I apologize, Mr. Chair, if I could just add one last thing.
Sure.
This is an R2 zone. So two-family homes are allowed here by right. I also understand that there are multiple two-family homes in the area. So this is not, you know, this is not an R1 where they're trying to do something that is outside of the R1 zone. This is the R2, and two families are authorized here by right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, if there's no other comments, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing and open it up for questions from the board. Any board members have any questions? If not, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Mr. Clerk?
Sorry, I thought my unmute button was working. There are none, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition?
There are no hands raised, Mr. Chair.
I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected officials that want to be heard in this case? Other than the counselor, which we've heard from.
Correct. There are none, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. I will now open it up for discussion from the board members.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
With the strong approval from Councilor Thompson, I will make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Lannis,
Yes.
Mr. Bernard,
Yes.
Chief Williams,
Yes.
Chair Gallagher.
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 4 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative.
The vote is 4-1. 4 in the affirmative. The petition is granted.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that, I believe, completes our business for this evening. Thank you very much.